Oh, now it's live.
We're live.
Hey, we're kind of live. We're live. We're talking about Kriegshawk. We went from like babies, stuff.
Snowstorms.
Again,
apologies for me looking like the devil's dick right now.
All the hot 90s babysitter.
Yeah. I told you, she watched like Young and the Restless and come in the room and just like whip her knuckles with a spoon. It was cool. She ruled. She's like, yeah, man. You hear that new Kriegshawk song? Sounds like fucking Destroyer by Toxic Reasons. What the fuck, man?
Yeah, we were just talking about how amazing Kriegshawk are and getting better.
Yeah.
Better every day.
It's easily, without a doubt, a record I would have picked. I've still been listening to it regularly, but you got a good
pretty quickly.
Yeah, all the great contemporary records, they've been checked off in the past few months very quickly.
There's a few left, probably.
What about Tom and Boot Boys? Are they getting better?
I'm waiting out for like episode 200 to bring the big guns.
Oh, hell yeah. Get erections, fucking Discogs, Tom and Boot Boys on one. Hell yeah.
All right, let's introduce ourselves. We're here, we're live. Thanks for tuning in. Friday night, Saturday morning, episode 102. It's going to be a great show. 102, apparently. That's what it says. Yeah, 102. Woo.
Hell yeah.
It's going to be a great time. We each got 5 records. We're going to have a great time talking about 3 new young blood. Let's call it young blood. No, new blood, young blood, old new blood. I don't know, like whatever you want to call it. Graeme, thanks.
I like young blood.
Young blood.
Yeah, if you want to call us young blood, that's great.
Yes, I'm into that. Young blood. Thank you so much for calling me young blood.
New kids on the block.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah, I'm Graeme from Canada, from a city called Edmonton in the north, in the tundra. Hence the face being windburned. So other than the fact that I look like I've been screaming into a fucking pillow for 25 minutes, I'm very happy to be allowed to be.
Wait till when you finish the show.
I forgot to ask. Are we allowed to? It's okay to curse on this, right?
Wait a bit. Wait a few minutes.
Okay.
I'll give you a sign when you're allowed to.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna kick things off then with. I'm gonna say titty bang. Enjoy.
There you go. Video demonetized.
There you go. Smash that like button like a pair of big old tits.
Graeme's here. Greg's here. I haven't seen Greg for 8 years, we were saying, right? 8 years.
Something like that. Yeah.
Years.
Yeah, you know.
Time flies.
Even though I was just in Osaka. Didn't see ya.
What?
I was busy with the triplets.
That's a fair excuse. I can understand that now.
Yeah, now you understand, right? There you go.
But aren't they were someone else's triplets, though? Right?
Yeah, not mine.
No, that's good. So that just makes the story way more interesting. You're like, I was commuting to work. There was 3 babies. They all looked the same. I just took them under my wing, brought them home.
Yeah, they said they
raising them.
I asked them if they wanted to go, and they said, no, not tonight.
Oh, hell yeah.
Tom, thanks for coming on. It's great to see you.
Thanks for having me. Sorry for the technical stuff, but hopefully from now on it'll be smooth sailing. Probably not.
I think so. What are you drinking, my man? What are you drinking?
I'm drinking something from so I was telling you earlier about like the LCBOs, like which is like the Canadian offie.
No, that's a Ontario thing. In our province, we shoot by the hip, buddy.
Just wild freestyle.
Yeah, we're wild. We don't give a fuck. We go freestyle.
I'm here in the wrong place. But I go there and I've got no idea what I'm actually looking for, so I buy things randomly. So now I'm on a jelly, raspberry, and blackberry thing.
Oh, that's a guy living in Toronto beer if there ever was one.
I'm trying to fit in, you know. It's only been a couple months.
Well, if you came to Edmonton with
I'm sure it's after, right? So.
Nice.
But you know, the humiliation, like graph is going to be going like this very quickly. So,
well, no, I mean, if you showed up with that in a town like in Edmonton, some guy be like, "I'm going to smoke you in the fucking lips, buddy." Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to curse. But you know what I mean.
Strike 2.
You got one more strike.
Okay, one more strike. I'm on the best behavior from now.
I've got an idea. Let's get going, shall we? Let's do the first round. Right. First round of records. I'll start. We'll go clockwise like a clock, and have a good time talking about some records.
All right.
I'm going to start off.
Do it.
Osaka, legendary band from Osaka. They just got their first LP, their only LP actually, reissued for the first time ever in history since it came out in '87. I think it came out. Selfish Records, Hometown Heroes.
Oh yeah,
Great band. Talking about, of course, the mighty Outo, which means
There you
puke or vomit. It's funny, I've never heard this word ever said apart from when I'm talking about this band. Like nobody ever uses like the word in conversation. It must be a kind of a rude word, I think, or not like a normal word that people use. But yeah, finally got reissued. It looks amazing. I don't know if it kind of shows up on the.
It definitely looks like it's in better shape than the one I have.
Well, the thing about this is like it's put out by a company or a label that does a magazine, so they know what they're doing. It's like super sharp and beautiful looking.
Yeah, it looks insane.
It's beautiful. I mean, it looks incredible. It's Japanese.
Like, those reissues are all like, because they've reissued everything now all at once, right?
They did. So what happened with that was they reissued everything, boom, and it was just a box set that you could only get at Tom, who's the artist, famous
Nice one, Tom.
artist. Not that Tom, a different Tom.
Tom, I love your skills. Skills to pay the bills, that's what they call them.
And so yeah, they did 200, I think, and they made like 200 boxes, but you couldn't get it even in record stores in Osaka. You had to go to this like art exhibition to get these boxes. Whatever. But you can get them like standalone now. So and you guys like this record?
So
I want to say that
I don't know it actually.
This band is different. They kind of hit different to like other bands of the era, I want to say.
Ironically, this record is filed very close to one of the records I pulled, so I was looking at it today. But I cannot for the life. There's an intro that's also on the Thrash Till Death comp. It's on that record too.
Diddling, 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 diddling. That one, right?
Yeah. Incredible intro.
Name that tune. Yeah, I mean, this band, like, they started off as like a noisier sort of Chaos UK.
Yeah, and then it got kind of in like this weird, like New York hardcore almost kind of groovy kind of place.
Very melodic, massive production, which also, like, a lot of the Selfish records from this era kind of failed in the production a little bit, like, especially like the third Lip Cream record, things like that.
I actually have to say that I've always felt that too. Like, starting to get weirdly metallic, and they have that like, I don't know what was going on with the snare sounds in the '87, but it was always like this. They were like, "Hey, man, we know that we were going in the future. We're gonna hear this record called Saint Anger by Metallica. We're gonna bring that back, and we're gonna first introduce it to Japan in 1987, and it's gonna sound like a baseball bat on a keg."
There was all sorts of weird things going on with the production in like 80s Japanese hardcore, right? But not in this case. This is fucking amazing.
No, if I remember, that's like a real like low end heavy record. Like it's really beefy.
Yeah, beefy. It's probably been remastered. It sounds. I haven't like A/B'd it to my original, but it sounds amazing. It's beautiful. It's cheapish to get. I think a lot of distros overseas have picked up copies. It's out there.
I know that General Speech kind of had all the reissues of that stuff. Because Tom also ran like new reprints of posters true to the originals and stuff from that era.
They probably came from that like art show, but yeah, the record's called Shoujikimono wa Baka o Miru, which kind of literally translates an honest person looks like a fool, but it's like kind of an idiom. It means like honesty doesn't pay. It's like what it means.
Hell yeah. That's fucking tough as nails.
That is a hard title.
Right?
Yeah.
Lie. I love that, man. There's nothing more punk than not telling the truth, right, guys?
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, I was thinking about it. If someone asked me, because like there's a big history of like Japanese hardcore, like going right back to like the late 70s, early 80s. If someone asked me like what my favorite era was, favorite label, I'd probably go with like Selfish. Like mid 80s to very early 90s, it's sort of untouchable, really, in my opinion. And I was kind of hearing it in real time too. Like as these records were coming out, I was buying them, so it I have a different kind of history with this stuff. But
That's sick.
Yeah, I feel like when you kind of dive into Japanese hardcore, that's like a really great era to start with.
Right.
the art is also like so fucking unique and gnarly.
Yeah, it's
Like, not
awesome.
just on that record, but like their early. I don't know, it's all.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Look how evil that looks.
Yeah.
I mean, leather pants are fucking sick.
She was an amazing artist. I mean, incredible. I didn't go. There was an exhibition here in Osaka,
Oh, wow.
in Tokyo. That all the old flyers, like the hand drawn, like adverts for like doll magazine stuff. That attention to detail is fucking incredible. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that one done by the same people who did the Comes Live LP?
No, it's a good question though. This is done by a label called Affinity Sounds.
Okay.
It's basically really just set up to put this out, really. But actually, you know what? They've just done a new SOB thing. Like SOB, like Rise from the Dead, like split single or something.
Did you see there's that they've done like a 33 and a third book on Don't Be Swindled that's coming out like soon?
Whoa.
Like I saw like a thing for it online. It's coming from Bloomsbury, which is insane. But like I guess there's a Japanese version of those books. But yeah, but don't be swindled.
Wow.
I have to wonder who wrote it.
Yeah,
like,
I'm not too sure.
Crazy.
Isn't that funny? Like this band saying like honesty doesn't pay, and then SOB is like saying don't be swindled. It's like what's they like?
I know. What do you do? What's
Great
more
record,
punk?
great band. Check out this reissue. It's kind of easy to get, easy-ish.
Nice.
And there's also this thing too. I just throw it in as a bonus. This is like all the compilation tracks in one tasty 12-inch platter. Like Trash to Death, Farewell to Arms, My Meets Your Poison, and Hardcore and Lawful Assembly tracks. All like, which it kind of works as an LP alone, like a standalone LP as well. So, there you go.
Hell yeah.
Outo.
Sick.
From Osaka. All right, Graeme.
Okay,
Graeme,
well,
You're up.
okay, now we're talking artwork.
All right.
So I'm gonna go with this was like the one I'm picking. It's not a hard one to find, but it was like a very important record for myself. And I actually just I found I finally got an upgrade of copies, and I had the insert in. So what I'm talking about is a compilation record, but it was the Better Youth Organization. Someone's got their head kicked in comp. Which way am I going? There we go. And obviously artwork by Pushead on this. But the thing that I always thought was funny that you were talking when we were talking about that thing, I always feel like when I look at the cover, like there used to be this guy in Edmonton in our hometown, and it was like, because this was such an early for all of us to get tuned into all the shit that was going on. And I mean, this is like in the 90s for me when I first heard this record. But it was like I remember like SNFU, that they're like our hometown band. They were like on the CD version of it that had this one and then Something to Believe In, which was the follow-up. There was a lot more Canadian bands like Youth was on it, and Personality Crisis was on it and stuff like that. But this I always thought was funny because when I first got this, there was a T-shirt that was going around. There was this band called Profound Heave. It was called Profound Heave, and I have the shirt. I should have wore it, but anyway, I remember being like, someone told me, he's like, you know what? We had a really good boot guy, and he drew the boots so well, and that was like his thing. And he did like all this artwork where he was like, he was really good at boots. And I got to say that about Pushead, what the fuck is going on with the boots on this record? On the cover, it's like a lot of them are like weird winkle pickers. Like they're all like with a point, and they kind of have like a beetle heel in the back, you know. So that was like on this
great Pushead artwork review.
Yeah.
What's going on?
I gotta say the boot guy. What is happening? Well, anyway, I absolutely love this comp. It got me into so many bands like Adolescence, Battalion of Saints, Aggression. Hell yeah. Yeah, but and like so the one I was so fucking stoked because for whatever reason I never had the little flyer thing on all the versions that had like, you know, the really cool Bad Religion stuff, and there's like all the pictures of all these guys when they were younger and stuff. And it's also funny to me because it's like you can tell like Mark Stern from Youth Brigade, he got a black eye, and they must have been like, okay, get that camera rolling. We got to fucking get it. Every photo is him with like a shiner. So it was like totally. I don't know. So I love this record, and I gotta say, upon listening to it again, just because I just got an upgrade, so I was just like, okay, I was like listening to this a lot. I gotta say, I actually prefer the versions on this comp than the ones that are on the records. Like I like the Adolescence version of Wrecking Crew and Who Is Who better on this comp than I do on the Blue record. And I got to say, the Battalion of Saints stuff is way better on the comp than it is on like Second Coming, which is a brilliant album. Both of these are amazing records, but it's like I love the production that they all used on this. And same with like Youth Brigade stuff was all the same, but Aggression. I love the Aggression versions on this one too. Like Intense Energy sounds so fucking good compared to the album that came out on BYO after. Anyway, this comp definitely like it turned me on to so much stuff, and I think this was like I was always so fortunate to find out get this record at a young age, because I think we were like Nirvana had kind of like we just saw Smells Like Teen Spirit, so we were trying to like find out who the hell was going on, like with any like what was going on, and it was like. Thanks, Rachel. Take a look at the boots. They're like kind of engineer boots mixed with like kind of like a wizard. It's got like a kind of like a. It's like maybe there's like like it's there. Yeah, it's like a winkle picker engineer boot. I don't know what's going on there, but it's fucking sick. They're definitely not the boots that are on like the Bad Religion like in that photo. These ones are more like. Mystical, I think. Like if you click those heels, you end up in LA, fucking 1982, bro. Deal with it. Anyway, I remember me and my brothers when we were younger, we would like go down to the basement. And we'd like pretty much like play like Blades of Steel, this hockey game on Nintendo, and it would be like when we play this fucking record, and we would just destroy the basement. Like when Intense Energy came on, the coffee table was flying. We were like learning how to slam, so that was cool. And my dad would just like turn the power off on us like in the basement. He knew which to hit on the breaker, and like so anyway, it was really great getting reunited with this one. And I gotta say, it's been on the turntable actually for the last 2 or 3 weeks, so I had to include it because it was just like I don't know. It's just this record is timeless, and also all the people in LA, all the fires going there. It was funny, like listening to in the city, that Bad Religion song. It's just it just made me like it just always makes me think of LA when I hear that song. So anyway, good record.
I feel like that's a real like classic Canadian record store grab too.
It's 100%. Like there was probably like. I always found this one was a little harder to find than the Something to Believe In. Like the Something to Believe In, I have all the different covers.
There's Something to Believe In Toronto.
Totally, and they have that huge poster which ruled. So you have like all the flags of everyone and be like stretch marks and like, and I fucking love that stretch mark song on there, Foreign Policy and stuff.
That one had like a Canadian pressing, right?
Right. There was like a blue cover, and then there was a red cover.
Yeah.
But it was funny, like BYO seemed to do that a lot. Like I remember like SNFU, like they would have like those like, and no one else wanted to play. It was like obviously they got sued by Diane Arbus for that cover. So then it was like then they had like an interim cover, like where they tried to get away with it with like a drawing, and then they had another drawing, and then finally they just had the one where there's like that satanic Santa Claus who chopped Diane Arbus's head off, and you're like sick. But anyway, there's something about like for me style wise too, like for punk, like I always love the look of like LA punk from that time too. Like I always thought they like the kids looked really cool. Like they were definitely some weird stuff that you would never pull off today. Like some guy shows up with a fedora, you'd be like, "Whoa, that guy sucks." But when you see the photos, the guy's got like a shiner and he's in a yellow school bus, you're like, that fucking rules. Like, and also I remember, like, I don't know if you saw I'm sure you did the Another State of Mind movie. Like, who didn't want that Discharge shirt that skinhead guy's wearing that he's showing how to mosh. I was just like, oh man, I'm gonna get that shirt someday. And then I did, and it fit me it looked like a nipple covering on a belly dancer when I put it on. It was all like mist.
Is that good or is that a good thing?
I don't know. Maybe to some. I think there's websites where that's big on, but like on the streets, no one needs to see that. Especially if this face gets this red from the wind. If it's like half my stomach hanging out, like no one needs to see that. So anyway.
Nice. It's good to talk about comps. It's hard though, because like, do I talk about like every band? But you did it's like nice summary. That's a great comp.
No, it's just like, I mean, you can't like it, especially with the way that the fact that they recorded all the same studio.
Right.
It's like, whereas like, you know, another huge comp for me would have been like the Maximum Rock and Roll, like Welcome to 1984, or like
I think
this Boston Not LA is a huge one too. But like this one's so cool because you could tell that there's a uniformity because they all recorded in the same studio.
Right.
So like it sounds like the same record.
Right.
Which
Process
is pretty
of
cool.
Elimination, I'm pretty sure also was like the same thing. Like they all got together one day and they all like banged it out in the same studio.
Oh, crazy. Yeah, and that makes sense to me too. Like, and it's just like it's first of all, you never see, there's not a lot of comps like that anymore, right? Like where they would be like, our scene is so good, like flex your head. Like that would be such a crazy thing nowadays. And if when they do come out, like I know there was like a Paris like Oi comp that came out that was like pretty cool. But it was like back then you just think of the caliber of bands for each city. I remember there was that, like, even like talking about Japan, like I remember we got like in the mail as kids, I don't know how we found this, but it would be like Burst Out, like, or those weird Oi from Japan comps. Like you're like, what the fuck is this? And you'd be like, oh, cool. And I remember thinking when I got that comp, there was a band called Blade or Blades or something.
Blade,
and I was like, oh, is that the same band from the BYO comp? And that was like why we bought it. And I was like, oh wait, it's not at all. This is Oi. What the fuck is this?
Nice. That's a great thing.
Yeah.
All right, Greg, what you got?
I get a real kick out of this one because it's on Universal Records. This came out this year, the Chi live double LP.
Hell yeah.
So I don't know. I know somebody else spoke about their first full length.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
But this one's, I don't know. I thought this one was, this band is fucking mystifying to me. Pardon my language. But it's like,
is that where are we going with the strikes in there?
Strike three. I don't know. Like, so this recording, I believe, is from '83, which is before they had put out anything. But the tracks that are on it kind of like span what they would release over the next 10 years. And it was like not released up until I think it was last year. Yeah. They did like a huge art show of like their whole history. And like they released a book, which so shout out Marco Rapasarda because I had to go through him to find this stuff. So like this book is like kind of covers the whole history of the band. And it's like a companion piece to the LP. And it's like, I feel like in a weird way, almost all of Italian punk and like popular music in the 80s revolves around this band. But they're never the one that really, because they became so commercially successful, nobody, I don't know, they're like huge. It's like being like, hey, the Sex Pistols are great, which they are, but like they kind of get glossed over most of the time. You know what I mean? And I don't know, the drums are live on this, whereas on the records, they're like usually drum machines. So like, everything is just fucking pounding the whole way through. Like it's I don't know, it's fucking killer record.
I have the green one.
Yeah,
it's got that Itso Biene song or
yeah. They don't play
is
that
like
on the set. That's like one of the that's like the biggest not the biggest.
I remember when we heard that like in the van. I had it on a mixtape and we were driving back from the airport and it was like a 3-hour drive back from the airport from a tour. And I remember Clint was like hearing that song, he's just like, man, we need to write a song like this. And I'm like, man, this is just like the way that that band writes music is insane too. Like it's just, I love songs that just kind of build and build and build, and they just kind of like have all those little.
like they have like, and that's what I mean about like the live drums is that like because they do the drum machine thing, it's like you'll listen to a song and it'll just be like kick drum, the fucking whole song,
love it,
non-stop.
Love it.
And it's like Live in Pankau is like the perfect song to me, where it's like kind of is just like got that kind of like melodic kind of verse, and it like kind of doesn't ever really go anywhere until the end, and it's it rocks.
I always kind of felt like when I would listen to them, I always kind of felt like it was like if the Clash was like listening to Crass, like if they were like getting into like
That's
they definitely like where they kind of would get into the more like we don't have a form, whereas like Clash, like a lot of times they're like a rock band, though they have like verse chorus, whatever, they kind of do that kind of thing and they do it well. But like the thing that I love about that is like there's no rhyme or reason, it's just like the parts just kind of flow, and it kind of reminds me more of like some of that, like think of like Crash Records and all that kind of stuff.
There's moments on this record, honestly, where it sounds like you're listening to a political rally.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
Like he's
the
just
vocals, especially.
Yeah, like
you're like, shut the fuck up, buddy.
It's so crazy, especially when you see like with like the book is really cool if you're a fan of the band, because it's just like it covers so much of what was like the performance art side of the band, like in the same way that like Crass had that dimension of like, you know, the visual aspect of what that band was. It's like S.H.I.T has that for like 20 years where they're doing shit like that, costumes, like dancers, backup singers, like, but at the same time, like I feel like the internet has not provided a ton on this band, whether because it's like it's became too much of a popular Italian thing and wasn't really much of a thing for people outside of Italy to mine. I don't know, but it's wicked stuff. I like, great.
I remember, this is just a non sequitur, but I remember the CCCP, and you would see that, like, I remember this like redneck guy in my like neighborhood. He like lived behind our house, you know, and you'd always see like a jersey, like it would be like the Russian guy wearing like CCCP. He's like, yeah, buddy, you can't catch Canadian pucks, eh? And I was always like, oh boy. So for some reason, it sucks because that's burned into my mind. Every time I see that record, I'm like, God, I hate this guy. Like, he just is like always. Yeah, like you try and listen to something like, and it's like, yeah, this political message is going, and you're like, yeah, what's that song called? You grab the thing, and the first thing that pops in your head is that, and you're like, oh god, it's like, okay, I gotta unlearn it somehow, but it's never gonna happen, I don't think.
But well,
cool. All right, Tom, what's your
cool? So this first one's like a record that came out like the very tail end of last year, like. Ooh. The third week of December before Christmas or something like that. It's this band from Reno called Rotary Club.
Oh hell yeah! That record rules.
I heard like the 7-inch when it came out, and it was kind of cool, but like this is like, I don't know, it's just all full of bangers. Basically, it seems what they've done is every single song in here is ripped off from like a kill by death song, but like
totally 100%. I was just gonna say,
but like I was going through it, and it's like it got to the point I actually got a notepad out and was like trying to work it out, because it was like one song where it's like the riff from like and the chorus from like Shock, this generation's on vacation.
Yeah.
Another one's like ABBK, and then but I listened to the first single, it's literally Dead Rock and Rollers. So it's
that song.
I think they're 100% like, you know, they know what they're doing, but also like the whole thing is like, I guess the band's gimmick is all about telephones and telephone lines, so like communication and whatnot. Like the artwork itself it's kind of like you see that and it's kind of like, oh sorry, avoid the glare, but it kind of looks like it could be anything,
right?
But it's so good, and I think like if anyone like gets a kick out of the Bloodstains comps, the Kill by Death comps, or whatever, like it's very on the nose. Oh, there's another one which is literally like Electric Heat by the Visitors, like
Toy.
not for nothing.
Dude. Like I was just gonna say there was the Electric Heat one because I definitely was rocking the Visitors single so hard when that record came out, and I was like, what? Wait, someone like because for me I felt like I just found that single out of nowhere and it appeared out of thin air, but then I was like, wait, there's people already dialed into this and there's literally like a new band that's like ripping it off. I'm like, oh man, this song is so good. Like, but I love that. That is a great record, man.
All the art as well. It's like it's literally just about telephones and like safety lines and whatnot. But like every song's like so good, and like I'm not sure who's singing, but like her vocals are so strong. It kind of I'm trying to think who it reminds me of, and it's kind of like almost like a cross between like the Bayonets and a Lethal Weapon or something like that.
Well, I was just gonna say I didn't want to be like I always name drop Zoe a lot from Bayonets, but I definitely was like that. To me, sounded like a definite Bayonets, like that, or maybe it could be like the lady from Penetration or something like that, which oddly sometimes reminds me of Zoe as well. But
yeah, this one kind of took me by surprise, but like I can't stop listening to it right now. It's
yeah.
I feel like I like put it on the other day and like maybe I just didn't tune in enough, but now I feel like I have to go back and listen to it.
You know, it's funny. That record is really hard to find. I haven't come across a physical.
Didn't make it to Japan, I don't think either.
It definitely did not make it up here either. I saw.
I think it might be so new as well, but it hasn't really like shown up.
Put it out. Who put that record out?
It's on Iron Lung.
Then
so
it should
we will get them eventually. Yeah.
Iron Lung has
connection.
But I'm also curious, like if it's a band that like plays shows or anything, or if it's just like a studio project, because like it sounds like it's so on the nose, but like, it could be people just like tinkering around at home, but it's also so strong. But like, who knows? Yeah.
All right.
But, yeah,
wow. Everyone seems to love that record. I've got to track it down. It's going on the list.
Yeah, it's like go to Iron Lung, get your goddamn records up in Canada for fuck's sakes. Sorry, that doesn't count. Like I said,
genuine. Nice. Wow, that was a great first round. Wow. All right, keeping it late 2024. This one didn't make it to Japan until like a couple of weeks ago. Finland. I knew one of the bands on this. It's a split 12-inch, 2 songs each. One of the bands put out a record last year, an LP, which I thought it was okay. I had like high expectations for it. It's not bad, but like they have the sounds and the atmosphere, but I think like the songs weren't quite there yet. But I think on this record, the songs are here. I'm talking about Modem and Dragsvik. This is Modem. No, this is Modem.
Nice.
Yeah.
This is
the sunglasses.
Look at these cool characters hanging out in Finland. Come on.
That's definitely been a record for me that I've been seeing a lot, and I still haven't had a chance to listen to it yet.
You know, I had faith in Modem. I like the LP from last year. I think it's a good record. I don't think it's a great record. I think, but you kind of could tell that there was really good potential there if they like honed the songwriting a little bit more, more hooks maybe.
Well, like I've listened to that, and I actually heard that I think they're going to be coming to North America in the fall.
Cool.
But but what blows my mind about this band in particular, well, it's more about Ville, who's like the guy in the band. He plays in like he is a band that does everything, and he's incredible at it. Incredible guitar player, grindcore legend.
Yeah,
like because he was in Kotitoa.
Yes,
and they ripped. There's a couple other bands. Foreseen, yeah. Well, yeah, Foreseen. He joined. What was the? I'm trying to remember the.
But I looked on Discogs and I started like. And I just gave up because there's like too many. So I just like
and I don't know if he still does, but he worked for S.H.I.T for a while, so he's like really heavily involved in like that whole Finnish ecosystem.
And he does a lot of production too. It's like you're looking, oh yeah, okay, this record was produced by Ville. Okay, oh, he did the artwork too. Okay, you know,
yeah. So like when I heard like, oh, Ville has like a synth band, I was like, oh hell yeah, this is gonna rock.
Well, I was super excited for it, and not only Ville but the vocalist, you know, TT from. I love the Plastic Tones, Tones LP.
I didn't know. I got introduced to Plastic Tones when I was in Japan because you was playing in the van constantly, and I was going to bring that up because it's kind of been in rotation since I got back, and I didn't realize it was the same singer.
Yeah, I mean,
really?
That's one of my favorite records from the last couple of years. The Plastic Tones LP is like untouchable.
I definitely missed that one for sure.
I had not heard of it until I got over to Japan, and nobody in North America I've really seen talk about it or seen it anywhere. But the LP and the 10-inch both rock. Anyways, now I need to search this out.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I think, you know why I think the songs are better on this? I think because they have more of that like Plastic Tones, like power pop melodies in these songs than they did on the LP from last year. But maybe that's why the songs are better. I don't know. Yeah, two great songs, and then on the flip side, you've got Dragsvik, who I've not heard of. They've got a couple of records out. This band is a little different. They have a sense of humor. These are remixes from their like last album, like 2 remixes from the LP. I haven't heard the original version, so I don't know how different they are. But it's funny. It's like first song, Ibiza Hot Mix.
Hell yeah!
It's hilarious. It's like literally the furthest thing away from that you can get. It's like ice cold, like gloomy, like.
I'm just waiting for you to say, "Oh yeah, and this is the Farmyard Boogie, the Chaos UK cider mix."
So good like Finnish sense of humor there with the Ibiza. But, you know, maybe the original version is even like gloomier than this one. I don't know, but good band as well. You know, icy synth pop, a little bit poppy. Get a little bit industrial towards the end. You know that band PESD from Poland? That kind of It almost starts to sound a little bit like that towards the end of side 2. It's almost industrial kind of.
Oh, that's cool. I gotta check that out. Like that's definitely one that kind of was like, and same with Plastic Tones. I've never even heard of that.
Plastic Tones is a must. It's an absolute must.
You dig it,
yeah.
And Modem too. I if you're going to get one Modem record, I would say get this one. But they have a couple of 12-inch singles out too.
The cover looks sick. I'd probably be like, if I saw that in the store, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Great record. Modem Age Records, which I think is Ville's label. I think maybe I don't know. Nice. But
hell yeah.
If you like icy synth pop.
Oh, I thought you said at first if you like iced tea. I was like, hell yeah. They sound like iced tea. Oh my god, it's just the synth and colors, you know.
Great band, great people too. I mean, this vocalist has other bands too, right? Not only the Plastic Tones, she has like another, like a full-on like kind of pop band too. I think, you know. So.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah. That's my next pick, last pick, my second pick.
Nice.
There you
go. So I guess for my second pick, I decided to go with because so you know, not trying to pump my own tires, but we are working on another record right now. And when the only reason is when we're doing that, I dive into a lot of stuff to like I'm just like always listening to music. I'm always hitting different spots of the record shop. And one of the things that we're using a lot of 808s on the new record. And so I've just been like going back to a lot of 808 stuff and like a lot of jams coming out, and so I've been going heavy in the paint with like a lot of like Africa Bambaataa, all that kind of stuff, like Electro Clash kind of stuff. So one of the ones I was going to do to follow up another LA record, I'm going with another LA record, but this is Egyptian Lover, One Track Mind.
Look at that.
And I mean, I don't know if you can see into the eyes of this man, but if you look in the eyes of this pharaoh, your clothes will instantly vaporize off your body. This is like, and also if you see this photo of these guys, if they showed up, you know you're gonna get gangbanged. So anyway,
the same graphic design of the back of Age of Coral.
This is the exact same. Actually, this is the Alpha Omega cover. But this is also designed by that same Finnish guy that you're talking about. Like he did all the artwork. Anyway,
when he was 5 years old.
Yeah, when he was 5 years old, 1986. Anyway, Egyptian Lover. It's funny. I've always had a deep love for him. I think because he gets like the songs are really nasty. Like it gets like all kind of like totally it channels into my juvenile sense of humor, but I love sex rhymes. Like they're so stupid, but I love them. And this like the stuff that I love about it, there's a song on it called The Dark Side of Egypt, and it's got like a really sinister synth line that kind of goes over top of it. And it actually kind of reminds me of like, I don't know if you ever got into like the first Ice-T record when you listen to Rhyme Pays and you hear like kind of like the early gangster rap stuff, but it's like you can tell that they're using the stuff that's around them. So it's like a lot of synths, 808 drum machines. So they're really stripped down because it's kind of before sampling and stuff. And so when you hear Colors, which we were just talking about, it's got that like evil synth right at the beginning. And I think for myself, I was always like, that's a sound that I definitely wanted to jump into, you know? And so I have the Egyptian Lover box set, which is, I didn't want to bring that down. I didn't want to bring down all the stuff, but, and I have like, I have all the Egyptian Lover 12-inch, but this is One Track Mind. If anyone's going to start
Look at that.
getting sexy, this is one that'll blast your goddamn dungaroos right off your body. Also, this is a side.
Is that
this
the one
is
that's
a side
got Cry on?
part. What's that? What's that? Sorry.
Sorry.
One more time, Tom.
Is I Cry on that record?
No, that's on the one before. That's the 80. That's the one from *84.
Oh, okay.
That record rules too.
Nice.
This one's got like Freakaholic on it, which is the other. That's like the hit on this, and one of the biggest scores that I got actually in the last couple of months. I have to just bring this up, but it wasn't a record, so I'm kind of piggybacking one. But it's this cassette, and this band's called Gigolo Tony. This guy's Gigolo Tony. I don't know if you can see it. Soldiers of the Streets. Anyway, this is like from Fort Lauderdale, and again, absolutely dumb juvenile stuff. There's a song called Burger King on it, and the chorus is ding a ling a ling a ling a ling. My dick tastes better than Burger King. and the first lines of this song Burger King by Gigolo Tony is suck my dick until I come and chew that cum like chewing gum. It's like, what the hell?
You've memorized these lyrics,
dude. I live for this kind of
inspiration.
stuff. And again, like, because they're a Florida band. Gigolo Tony was a Florida, and they actually he had a hit like way back called "I Am Crack Cocaine," which is a pretty sick tune. But again, though, I just love the 808, and I love the like Miami like Two Live Crew and that whole like crazy 808 bounce stuff that they would always kind of put. And so Egyptian Lover definitely is one of those things. And apparently he's got a new record that's coming out this year. It just came out, like it's called 1987, which is cool, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe hopefully on the next show you're starting to dress like this. I think you should actually bring this look to Osaka.
You
think of that?
It might already be here. I don't know.
I think so. I feel like private investigators in Osaka dress like this.
Right.
He's like, Miss, I'm gonna have to open up your blouse and go blam on them titties.
Yeah, I've definitely seen people like that around, like in certain areas of the town. Okay, question. If I was to get only one, I was going to say Egyptian Lover record, which one would it be?
I would say start with this one. Start with One Track Mind.
Okay.
And then, I mean, he was definitely, it was like the age of 12 inches when a lot of his stuff came out.
Right.
So back in the day, so that you know, Dark Side of Egypt, there's a 12-inch of that, and that song rules. Anytime I DJ and I throw on that song, people don't even know what it is, and
they
they're
ask,
just
like, what's this kind of thing?
Totally.
Like, yeah.
And it's just like one of those bangers. Another thing that's funny about that is I remember I met Sean from Cult Nation. You know that it's like a scene that's from Canada. Anyway, he was DJing a show, and he was telling me all about LA punk and stuff like that, and it came up about Egyptian Lover, and I was like, yeah, did you ever go to any of those shows like in 84, 85, like when punk started going to even like some of these things? And he was like, yeah, and those were the scariest shows. Like you would have like, they were so packed. It would be at like these big domes where there'd be like people roller skating and stuff, and it would just be like everyone in all of LA was just like drawn to the sound. So it would be like you'd have all these like different gangbangers in one spot, just like listening to like sex music. And but it would be like, you know, like I remember even hearing like an interview with like Be Real from Cypress Hill, and he was talking about like how much Egyptian Lover played a big part into Cypress Hill, and also how much that like how intense those shows were. So like when people like rappers from East Coast would come to LA and they'd be like, oh yeah, we're like at these big dome things, and there'd be like guns going off and stuff like that. Anyway, so it definitely has like a counterculture vibe to it too. And that's another thing that draws me into a lot of this juvenile shit. But I love it, man. I love it.
Nice. I'm intrigued. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. All right, Greg, follow that.
I also went Finnish on this round.
Cool.
The second Baka LP. Do you know this one, Mike? I assume so.
Again, it's one of those records that, because everyone thinks you can get every record here in Osaka. Not necessarily the case. It's like some things just never make it here, or they don't show up, or like that.
Man, I agree with you, because Kakahata 77 you could get, but that only was there at that Varning when they came in.
So I think I might have got this. No, I think I like ordered this online after not getting it at Puntala, because it came out the year we played Puntala, and like this is like this is a record that like I feel like I always like kind of stumble back to every few months, because it's just so like razor sharp, catchy all the way through. Like if there's a record that's going to teach me Finnish, it's this. But unfortunately, I think all the songs are just about like getting drunk and pissing yourself mostly. So it's like a beyond a power pop record. Even it's like it's really like Kakahata is like the only thing that I feel like is a reasonable comparison.
It's one of the guys from that band.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah,
I think it was the guy who's always pissing himself on stage too.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm gonna put that in lyrics.
They played Varning, and it's like, yeah, it's basically pop punk. And then they played Varning, and people were like, we can never have them back. But it's just like, I don't know. Every song is like under 2 minutes, has a wicked hook. The guitar playing is out of this world. Like it's just like checks all the boxes. So yeah, big favorite. I put it on in the car again like a month ago, and then it's just been kind of like hanging around. It's just was
your like newborn like
he
talking
wasn't
to you?
here yet
When
I pulled it back out, but he's gonna learn about this real quick. This is a headphone listen, but we're gonna have to expose him to some of the ideas on this record real soon.
He's in for a treat.
Well, he's already knows about
he's
pissing
already
himself.
He's already pissing his pants. So,
he's like, guess what? I totally live these lyrics. No big deal. He's like, my pants filled with piss.
But
bed also pissed in.
I feel like what's the title is something like if I had bad luck, I wouldn't have luck at all, or something in Finnish. But yeah, just. It's a record for drunk party guys. Man,
I was like super late to Kakahata 77. I missed them the first time around, and I found that LP with the first two singles. I kind of looked up, so, okay, he was in Paki too. I've got to fucking like get into that band too. But yeah, no luck yet. But
yeah, I love those Kakahata 77 singles, but I've never heard the Paki record. But
me neither.
Really? Oh man, yeah.
But the Kakahata LP was so good. The one with the guy like snowshoeing. I was like, man, that LP is amazing.
The monster guy.
Yeah, and he's like snowshoeing off to oblivion or whatever. That thing was like on my turntable for like a long time straight. I love that record. Yes. But yeah, I other than them playing at Varning, I was like, I don't know. They never came anywhere close.
Yeah. I don't even know if they're still a band. Like, but both LPs, I think there's a single or two, but both LPs are just like
killer.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect records. But
cool.
Yeah.
All right. Nice. All right. Tom, what's your... We're still on round 2, right? Okay, Tom, what's your...
Okay. So I wanted to pull out like the punkest record of all time.
Hell
Like
yeah.
that's not exploited.
Oh, what? That's like
That's coming later, don't worry. But,
porno slap
but-
12-inch.
how do you guess?
Oh, how do you do it?
But, I want to talk about the Jesus and the Gospel Fuckers
Oh, hell yeah.
and Agent Orange Split OP, which some of the best hardcore of all time.
made.
Like,
Yeah.
like the Your Mother Sucks Cocks in Hell AP. We all know. Sorry for this swearing again.
Too late
But
now.
also the thing I've really been listening to lately is like the Genocide Express tracks on this, which is like, I guess we're on the Cleanse the Bacteria comp, and it's like it just has like the most insane production where it just like leaps out of you. Like, and don't get me wrong, I love the 3 EPs, but like for some reason I'd always be like, oh, I'm done after that. But I listened to those again recently, and it's like, fucking hell, it's just like just so massive, and I'm very curious. I'd be very curious to hear what an LP of that would be like, because I think it would just like bulldoze the entire landscape at the time. But what we do have is the most poorly produced discography LP you could ever hope for. With like, I can't really put it into practice here, but like insanely pixelated cover.
Is that the like Kangaroo Records thing, right?
Oh yeah. The best.
Oh.
Of course, but that's good, but it gets even better when they've taken the same resolution like image and turned it into like a massive poster as well.
I have a confession to make. Until quite recently, actually, I had that poster in my. I had that put on my kitchen wall until fairly recently, as a 57-year-old man.
Wow, that's great.
I don't know why I took it down. I should put it back up. You've reminded me to put it back.
I'd love to get it framed, but I think my wife might not feel the same. So like,
if it was a bit of a higher resolution picture, you could probably
if it got up to like 72 or something, it could be a game changer. But like,
the only thing that would make it sweeter is if it had a shitty MySpace like written on the cover, like it had like the www.myspace.
It's got
Kangaroo Records
in Comic Sans.
Yeah, comics like. Oh man, that turned out. They did a great job,
didn't they?
It gets better and better because you got the labels which I
was gonna say. They at least have the right band. You know how sometimes it'll be like, oh wow, Debauchka is written on the 12-inch.
but the thing is, the booklet is incredible because it's got like line notes from Jesus from the Gospel Fuckers, and it's so moronic. Like it's there's stories about how they hated everyone, how they beat everyone up. Like there's one that's like I think I'm paraphrasing here slightly, but it's like, there was a squat, but some art people ran it.
Nice.
So we played there. We played there, beat them all up, but then they ran out of beer. As in, like they expect them to like go and get more for them or something. And then like the last like sentence is like, oh yeah, then like 1985, I was in hospital for a year from like living the punk lifestyle.
He's like accidentally I drank my own blood.
You'd hope so. But
you gotta love that kind of stuff though, when it would be like, yeah, the punk showed up. It was like the Beastie Boys video, Fight for Your Right to Party, like art guys just fucking around. We show up, we're like smashing French baguettes on our head, and like we're gonna fucking just drink everyone's blood, just tear this fucking place
stuff in there as well, which is like just took them talking about how much they hate the X, and like,
oh hell yeah, of course, because
I don't know if they beat them up as well, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Well, isn't that like what is that? Special Duties versus Crass, where it's like where there was like there's like a story where like because like it's Steve Arrogant in Special Duty, and he was like on a bus, like taking the bus one day, and I think like Steve Ignorant was on there, and he was like, "Man, like, are you like honestly against everything that we sing about?" He's like, "Yes." He's like, "Do you actually believe?" "Yes." "No." "Fuck you." Like, okay,
man.
You gotta love
that record is incredible though. It's just full bore, like chaos, like from
Dude,
start to finish.
That Agent Orange
Seriously.
stuff, like, it's just like literally, it's like, I mean, it's like BGK is already like, to me, is like one of the heavyweights for me for like international hardcore, one of my all-time favorites. But like when you hear the Agent Orange stuff before it, it's just like even more brutal, and you can't even imagine that there's a sound that yeah, it's perfect. I think it's just like literally sounds like a jet engine coming on your head with like a bunch of dumbass shit just hitting you like at the most intense speed.
Yeah,
I think it's another one of those classic things as well. It's like, oh yeah, you know, we were punks, but then we heard Discharge and we had to up our game, and then
they
definitely did. So,
nice.
Well, like I actually heard, like I think that's why I love that era so much, like especially the era before hardcore is like a thing, because it's like that's where you hear everyone being so like just trying to figure it out, like trying to just like do what their version of it, like. And even when you hear those like early like anti-Cymex like demos of like jam spaces where they were like talking about how they were like influenced by like a few songs by Buzzcocks, and you're like, how do you go from Buzzcocks to like, you know, like raped ass? But it's just like but you like you realize that it's just like that's what makes the sound. It's the evolution of everything, and then they'll hear Discharge, and then everything changes, and then their sound is totally different. And everyone is like, we have literally just gotten our asses kicked. We need to step the game up. So
it's like a distillation of anger. It's just
totally
like that's how I hear a lot of that stuff. Is just like, okay, they were angry, and those were the instruments they had. Cool.
But it's cool too to like when you hear the Discharge demos, and they kind of like aping Sex Pistols.
Yeah,
and you're like, well, of course it's all going to come from somewhere. You know what I mean? It's like. It's not just like, it's really cool that when you hear what their jump off points are, and like the same, Agent and like that Agent Orange and like, oh man, that's a great record. I've that's both sides I love. I've only listened to it on YouTube, unfortunately, except for I have like 2 of the Agent Orange singles, but like no big deal. But like. No big deal, but you know, that's just kind of shit that happens. You know, we haven't heard like half the records that you guys have heard like around the world, but yeah, we're still, Jesus Jones is still new, right? Like that's your top of 2024.
I also feel like I'm ragging on like the execution of the LP, but like in a way,
it's perfect.
It makes it even better. It's like. I don't know, it just pulls you into it, and like first you're like, "What the fuck is this ugly thing?" And
no fucking gimmicks, just pure unbridled hardcore.
That's kind of Kangaroo's thing, right? It's like,
what was it? All hardcore, no like
very. Like,
he likes one thing really well.
And he likes it a lot.
Yeah,
got to respect
Mike Tyson.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. He likes 2 things: Mike Tyson and hardcore.
All right, we're talking about Pucky and like how great fucking catchy, more like pop, not pop punk, but power pop, punk rock, super catchy. Northern Ireland, like Belfast, Northern Ireland was a fucking hotbed of like catchy activity, like back in the late 70s, like early 80s. Rudy, Protex, Moondogs, Starjets. Radiators from Space. You can, the list is endless. Undertone to the biggest one. Yeah. Stiff Little Fingers are sort of the punkest right there. They're also almost hardcore actually. So, Stiff Little Fingers. I think this band was sort of the punkest of that wave of bands. So they're a great band, and I'm a big fan of the singles collection. This is like the best singles collection from this band. Double LP, The Outcasts.
Oh hell yeah.
It's like, it's got, I don't know what was going on over there in Ireland like back in the day, but man, just that knack for writing just perfect punky pop songs.
Yeah.
Like what was going on, like, Good Vibrations records and all that kind of stuff. But, man.
Well, I think that's the thing, like, because most of these guys are all from the same city, right? So Terry Hooley's like DJing of these places, so it's like fucking hearing the best shit ever, and all these guys, like, it's just so cool, like, like that. Outcasts are like, man, like Self-Conscious Over You is so good, and Just Another Teenage Rebel. Like those are like songs that anytime you DJ those or you put those on a mixtape, it like levels up the game. Like you could have like a fucking waddy spoken word, and then you follow it up by like, just another teenage rebel, and people are like, okay, well, we're not throwing this tape out the window. This
So
fucking thing rules.
So good. And there's a couple of other kind of singles collections that are kind of this is complete. This is like every single A side, B sides from like 79 to 85. So, and it gets a little dodgy once we get into 84, 85, but it's not bad.
Like Angel Face.
Yes, I like Angel Face because I remember the original from when I was a kid.
Angel Face, like an angel.
I like that song, but the one I don't like is the 1969 cover they put out as an A side as a single.
Oh, really?
Not necessary, but not many people are doing that in like 1985.
I have only one complaint about Outcasts, and this is like, like I think this is like kind of one of those things that's like with almost every band, but it's like you can have like a medium singer and the band will be still, and if the songs are good enough, it'll still be cool. You could have a guy who's shit on guitar, but if the songs are good enough, whatever. Same with bass, no one really cares. But if your drummer is kind of shitty, it's like, cool, boys, we gotta get through this song. Like, and there's a couple Outcast tunes where you're like, and I'm not trying to slag them because I love their stuff, but there's a couple tunes like "Love Is for Sops," for instance. You're like,
that's
cool,
funny though.
Kid up, motherfucker.
They had two drummers at one point, and that's one of the reasons why they covered Angel Face, because the Glitter Band were famous for having two drummers. So it's funny. I think that was
well, but then again, anytime you see a band that has like 4 guitar players, you're like, this is gonna be some soup coming at you.
But you can't. This is quite undeniable, like catchy, anthemic, power pop, poppy punk, whatever you want to call it. So good. It gets a little clashy to it. It gets a little rockabilly at times too, like later on. A little rockabilly, a little.
Just those early, but like they were so like out of the gates, like same with Rudy. Like those two bands, like I don't know, like it's just those first 2 singles are like literally like you can't fuck with them at all. Sorry.
Did you ever see the movie about the record?
Good Vibrations, the movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's actually good. It's actually a pretty good flick.
It was great. Like, especially if you're into that era of music. It's like a really like it's a heartwarming tale.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Music that much.
There's another one called Shell Shock Rock, which was actually filmed at the time.
That was about like kind of show band, right? And like, is that right?
Yeah. It's like a half-hour thing. I think it's on YouTube and stuff, but it's all the vibrations bands. It films Outcasts actually recording Your Disease and Rudy, and them like running in the rain from the bus to like get to their practice space in like a church hall. They interviewed Terry Hooley in Good Vibrations, and when it's got like undertones and Protex playing in the pub at the end, but it's like
Protex. I forgot about them. Wow,
it's like life affirming. It's like one of the best things you can watch.
And the other thing too that you always kind of forget too is just like even a band like Undertones, you kind of forget how young they were.
Yeah,
and like totally. So like seeing them like it's funny to me, even like because they would have been like 14, 15. And they'd be on tour with like Joy Division or something like that. And you're like, that is so insane to me. Like those guys, like, and they're like, hi, we're in the Undertones. And they're like, ugh. Like fucking Peter Hook showing up. It's like, oh boy.
Yeah. If you want to get an Outcast singles collection, if anyone's in the market for an Outcast singles collection, this is the one I'd get.
Wasn't there a story too where it was like one of the guys from Outcasts like invented American skinheads? Like, because like Harley Flanagan
shaved Harley's head or something.
Yeah, because apparently like the Stimulators did a bunch of shows with Outcasts or something like that. I don't know. I think my skinhead lore is kind of all over the place these days.
I think they had like really Good Vibrations.
Baka was the singer of Homefront.
Right, and it was because I wanted to look like him in the Angel Face single.
You know what? There is a slight resemblance. I've got to say this. Angel Face.
Hey, they say, well, I got demon face right now because of the goddamn wind, but
there you go. Classic punk. You can't replicate this stuff. It's amazing. The Outcasts.
I love them.
Great stuff.
Okay, so again, this is another one about like this was on the heavy rotation listening pile because of working on tunes and stuff, and we played a show in Spain in 2023, and it was with I think it was with Glue and Syndrome 81, and there was this DJ after the show. She was just playing like, you know, it was like goth 80s goth night or whatever, but she kicked it off with this song, and I think maybe it was just like the mood I was in. I was so tired or whatever, but the song just like hit me so hard. And then it was so funny because it was like I was in a different room, and then Clint came running over to me and he's like, "Man, did you hear that song that woman just DJ'd?" And I was like, and like we were totally on the same wavelength. And the band was called Septimo Cello, and the song is called Espacio Vacío. So it's okay. So first, the thing that I wanted to talk about is that this is the LP version, but to be honest, that's really like the only song that I really like on the LP.
Okay.
So I would recommend this 12-inch version, which has the better version of that song. And it also, so that's the song right here. It's Espacio Vacío. And it is just such a banger. It's like, it's kind of like if the Cars Tonight She Comes was made in Spain. And I'm not sure if they're from Basque or if they're from Madrid. I think they're actually a Madrid band. So they're, but this song is just, it's so good. The synths are so good. It's just like a perfect pop song. But the 12-inch version, so like this one with this cover, is about 1,000,000 times better than the LP version, because even though it's a little longer, it kind of gives you more of the stuff that you want. Funny thing that I want to add about this is it's got this little label here. I don't know if you can see it. It says Maxi Single. So our dear friend Paco, this thing, like this term is maybe one of his most hated terms ever. Like when we were putting on a record, I'm like, okay, yeah, let's launch this Maxi Single. He's like, don't ever fucking say that word again. He's like, it's a 12-inch. And I'm like, no, we'll write Maxi Single, right? He's like, just like I could just see like a vein in his forehead. Like all of a sudden, like the connection on the Wi-Fi was kind of going out, you know? Like I was like, so when he actually helped me find these, because these records are really hard to find in North America. I think they were kind of a popular band in Spain, and I don't know how much it made outside there. So finding these records is really hard. But he actually showed me this, like it was kind of like Discogs, but only a Spanish Discogs.
Whoa.
Yeah, I don't know. So again, he always has these funny little ways of like finding secret stashes all over the world. So this was definitely something that kicks ass, and I love this tune. And what is it, that band famous on a song there? Yeah, and actually it's funny, the song, their other tunes are like, I don't know if they're for me, like they'll be like kind of like sounds like a drunk guy like screaming in a bar, like playing piano. It's like, I'm like, okay, I'm fucking good on this one. But anyway,
wow,
the song that might have been a joke fucking rules. Like, and it's just like, if any band, it actually, and to me, it actually sounds like something that would be very contemporary. Like it'd be, if someone told me that was a new song, I'd be like, oh, that totally makes sense. Like that's okay. You know, but anyway, it's a banger. So,
wow.
But I would say the 12-inch Maxi Single version.
Maxi Single.
That's fine. Sorry, I know Paco just probably shot out of bed right now.
Did someone say Maxi Single?
What?
I'll be right back.
There's all of a sudden like two Age of Coral mushroom clouds in his eyes. So, yeah. Anyway, that's a great song.
All right. Cool. All right, great.
This is the moment where I officially begin my campaign to get
hell yeah,
Body Tank Crimes to remaster, remix, and reissue this record. The third and most maligned Inepsy LP, where they did their turn to be, really went for the AC/DC thing, but like it does actually rock. Like if we can live in a world where like people are rehabilitating Grave New World and Second
I
Empire.
was just to me, I would totally agree.
We can start rehabilitating this one too, because like the tracks, like they're all hits. Is it City Weapons? No. Like fair enough, I'll concede it, but like top to bottom, I have only once in my life have I ever bought like MP3s off iTunes, and it's because I needed to hear songs off this record, like middle of the tour.
Like you just needed it now.
I need it now. Like we have spent hours in the van talking about 10 packs of smokes, like the sheer volume of smoke that is.
Dude, that song rules though. Like
it's a perfect song. Like the whole record. This is what we're discussing, Tom. In case you wanted to catch up. But so I really don't know. I know Tank Crimes just reissued See You in Hell and Rock and Roll Babylon. I think he's reissuing City Weapons, like it just went up on streaming. I do think that if this got like a remix remaster, because like the kick drum sounds like a tennis ball. Like it really doesn't sound great, but like the songs rip. The artwork is cool as hell. Like I would say, yeah.
See, this is actually a very true point.
That is.
But and like anytime I heard them, because I saw them like a million times, but when I saw them playing songs off this record, I remember being like, these are so good.
They were made, I can imagine, even though I've never seen, you can imagine how good they would be live.
Yeah. Oh, they were always
killer. They were better than like, even when they were, because like at the end.
Because like around this time, they were playing as a 3-piece.
There were like, 3-piece. Like I think the last time I saw them was actually like at a free Vice party that wasn't even that well attended. Like, yeah, like, because they were really trying to, there's actually, and I don't know if this is something that's really escaped Canada, but is a really Canadian moment. So they did have I ever shown you this, Tom? The Inepsy acoustic set?
No.
So there is a video of them playing a TV show called Band Apart that I think is like a CBC Quebec thing. So like the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. It's on YouTube. They're playing in like a kitchen at a CBC studio. They go in, put like Motorhead and Discharge posters on the wall, and then break into an acoustic rendition of Time Bomb, where was it Sam was the drummer is playing at that point. He's playing using a ring to play a Jameson bottle as percussion.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know, man, like the tracks on this, you've got Rock and Roll Is the Only Way, you've got No Speed Limit, Among the Remains, 10 Packs of Smokes, Runaway. You got this is not the best version of Time Bomb, but you've got Time Bomb, Warriors of the Wasteland, Fast Way to Die, Wild Sea Night. It's all bangers all the way through. There isn't a bad track.
You know, I do love that it's not Beneath the Remains. They're like, you know what? We're among the remains now. So
and not among the remains, among the remains.
Yeah.
It's man, like it really is. Yes, Inepsy acoustic set. Like you look up Time Bomb CBC Inepsy, it'll come up on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. Oh, wow.
It's on YouTube.
Because I remember the Band Apart when they did the full like band thing, and they had all the crazy lights, and it looked like fucking Judas Priest playing in like at like a CBC studio.
This is.
I didn't know that there was a B-side to it where it's like an acoustic jam. They're like, this is what we do during our coffee break. Hey, Sam, fire up the Jameson bottle. With pleasure.
I don't know. This record rocks. It like I said, if we're rehabilitating stuff that was like maligned when it came out, it's this record's time.
Well, I gotta say, like,
one thing I need to accomplish in life is getting people to pick this one back up again.
I feel though that one, it definitely could use a remaster. Like if they remix it in a different way, like maybe it would come out like in a way where you're like, wow, this is totally. But like for me, it was just like I remember seeing them play some of those tunes like from that record, and it was like clearly no more were they doing just straight motor discharge kind of stuff.
Yeah,
they were kind of doing like Kiss, like very
I
like
feel
new wave of British heavy metal kind of stuff, and I
Right.
was like, this is kind of sick too.
I like, in my head, it's like it's a real AC/DC kind of thing,
Right.
where it's just like they have written rock songs,
Right,
and those songs
especially
rock.
on that record.
Yeah.
Well, they
And-
know how to rock.
Yeah, but like the guitars don't have like they're just not. There's just they don't have the bite of anything else, right?
Yeah.
Like they kind of lost that metallic edge that used to bleed into it, right? And but if it got remastered, I think it would be fucking massive.
I heard that like they are going to reissue the entire discography, right? So
I
That's what I've been
hope
hearing.
that one's included.
yeah,
Because I feel like, get easy to skip over. But even there was a tape that came out. I think somebody put it on LP. I don't know if it was Yannick or not. It might have been the last Feral Ward release. I have it somewhere. Like that Lost Tapes.
yes, that's on LP too, though.
Oh, yeah.
now.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It was a tape, and then I think Feral Ward maybe was the last Feral
Right.
Ward thing. Maybe
The
but
hard
that
one to get is,
record also rips.
the hard one to get is that picture disc, right?
Madness and Overkill.
Yes, yeah.
You know the thing was like Inepsy's like that is just to me is like one of top echelon Canadian punk metal whatever from forever. Like that's
Greatest
period.
Canadian rock act.
And I agree. They love music, and that's kind of, and so do we, and like that's why we connect. But the one thing I will say, rest in peace, Steve Bennett, obviously, fucking legend. So when I saw the first time I ever saw Inepsy, there was a tour they were doing like before, like rock and roll, before even like the single. It was like they came through, and I remember being like to me it was like very Quebecois, like.
Yeah.
Almost crust. It was like had like grind elements to it, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah. I'm like the weird name band is kind of exactly what I thought it was going to be like. They showed up in like this bus, and there was like these like young guys, but it was all this like this little bus that had like studs on the top and stuff, and like I was like, okay. And so like when I saw that as a young guy, I'm like, okay, that's kind of what I thought it was going to sound like. But then, and that single came out, and I was like, I know they had the single at the show, and so I got it there. But I remember even thinking like, yeah, this is cool. But when Rock and Roll Babylon came out, like, it's just like, I don't know, I can't even describe, but it was just like all of us, like at the same time, we're just like, this is like blew our heads off. Like, it was not what I expected this band to do.
That
and it was just like just fucking perfect ass record.
Song, Street City Kids,
dude,
unbelievable,
dude. Actually, and I will also argue that the song just before that has one of the greatest riffs ever. I think it's called like what the hell is it called? It's like I mean, that's like every tune, but it's like the Aftermath of Progress. That tune also, and like, I mean, obviously for me, like missing Steve, but I always remember watching him play that riff, like, and I'd just be like, "Oh man," I'd watch him play that riff, and I'd also think in the back of my head, I'm like, "Shit, he's gonna be staying at my house for like a month. I know it. I know this is gonna happen." So it's just like, better get ready. But we're a legendary band in Canada for sure.
Yeah, like, weirdly, I feel like I don't want to say that they haven't got their due, but like I think they only toured the States once. Maybe they never really went. I don't think they went over to Europe, did they, Graeme?
They did.
Yeah, they did. They did like they did actually a one super long tour, but I think when they did that tour, they were only a 3-piece, right? I think they played as a 3-piece in England.
I didn't see them when they came over, but like I remember like the London show happened, and it was like. It was one of those times where it's like, that's really mixed the bills. So I think it was like 4 like spin kick metal bands with an Inepsy headlining, and
of course,
perfect combination, of course. But
there was like a point where like they kind of existed in this weird world. Like I remember there was a show here in Toronto that was kind of like that, where it was like because there weren't really always bands that would feel right playing with them, like they would. There was never really someone would be like, okay, there's a thrash metal band, we'll put them on, and then we'll put a punk band on. I think the best time I ever saw them in Toronto was they played a show with like Brutal Nights.
Oh, hell
that's
yeah.
perfect, yeah.
Like 2007, 2008, around then, and it was like they were locked in. And people would tell you that I didn't see the show before that. It was like and they played in this place, Anya's. It was like a small bar in town, and people say that was like out of this world.
I remember even seeing them at Sneaky D's in Toronto, and that was like, I think that might have been the Brutal. There was a Brutal Night show they played there.
Brutal Night was playing everything around.
Yeah,
that.
but I also remember I remember being at a party with Shani, and he was telling me, he's like, yeah, we're doing a bunch of shows with Voivod, and I was like, that totally makes sense to me. Like, you should be. Like, in my mind, it's like, it's funny because, like, you know, you have like bands like, I know I'm not trying to throw any current bands in the bus, but like there was that wave of thrash that was just like not for me, where it was like about pizza, beers,
like
like
pizza trampoline thrash.
Totally, and just like talking about sharks and stuff. I'm like, but then it was like, it was like so kind of like beneath what Inepsy was doing, because Inepsy was so like the lyrics were so cool, like the vibe was so cool, like you literally felt like, as cheesy as it sounds, but it felt like you were driving into the apocalypse when you're like listening to the tunes. Like,
it does feel like that, even like sat here in Osaka in my bedroom. Yeah. It does feel, you feel like you're kind of being transported to this world.
Totally.
That's really hard to do.
I agree, especially for like a contemporary, like our contemporaries. I mean, like, and they came out in an interesting time, because it was like street punk was big and kind of, you know, out of the spot. And then there was like that fucking awesome rise of bands like Government Warning and Double Negative and like Career Suicide. Actually, I remember seeing Career Suicide cover in Inepsy, and I was just like, it blew me away. Like, I was just like, fuck, I love this song, and just hearing Who's Next live. Anyway, I could go on and on about Inepsy and how much I love
a whole 3-hour episode on this.
I agree.
You get the Canadians on, man. This is what
that's right.
Hey, I'm not Canadian, so.
A couple of years ago, I was on tour with the Chisel, and we played in Portland, and we ended up staying at Yannick from Phil Ward's house.
Oh, cool.
And he's got the original painting for that record on, like, in his living room. But with, like,
I've seen it too.
Like classic, like sort of like 1900 like art frame around it, and it
just like the frame you're going to get for that Agent Orange.
For that poser. You're like, I just want to get the right frame to really bring out that pixelated jizz coming out.
It just really brings the room together, you know. So.
All right, Tom. What's your next pick?
Okay, so next one. Yeah. You were talking about Northern Ireland and Belfast earlier, so I'm going straight back into that.
Cool.
So recently, like, there was a reissue on Fish and Sheep, which was of the tin openers, and sorry, I bring that down slightly.
There you go.
Oh, there we go.
But it's like it was like 2 songs off the unreleased, but they're on the other label that wasn't Good Vibrations, called Rip Off.
Rip Off.
To be confused with the 90s one. But that got me pulling out this one here.
Look at
which
that.
Is
the comp.
Which is like a comp of like all the stuff that label did. And I wasn't really aware of this before this came out. But it was about a couple of years after finding out about all the Good Vibrations things. And then it was like, there was another label doing stuff too. Like, I guess for this one, like, it's basically like there was this guy, Clive Culbertson, doing it all, but it wasn't really punk. It was more like, I guess you could call it adjacent people, like kind of getting, I don't know if they're getting in on the acts necessarily, but like it's like there's some stuff here, like there's a band called No Sweat, which Clive Culbertson was,
dude,
and it's so good. But it's basically, you could tell that there was
fucking love that single.
And they're like trying to, and they're suddenly trying to like kind of like go a little bit more like punk new wave. But like there's also like this song called The Zips, Friends, and it's like it's someone who sounds like their voice is just broken, always about to break. But it's like the most like amazing, like melancholy, like we're talking about girls and we're finding out what to do. I mean, he's like
I've been pogoing my dick into her belly button for days, so nothing's happening. She loves it.
But at the same time, like on that note, there's like a couple of songs where I'd be like, like there's ones like, oh yeah, Shaman was a good screw.
Oh.
it's like Sick.
Shannon getting thrown under the bus again, you know.
But Clive Culbertson itself does a solo record on this called "Time to Kill," and it's
One of
just
my
like
favorite.
the fucking best. And but the Tin Openers songs on this, and there's like another song. There's another single as well. It's like it's as good as like Protex, Outcasts,
Wow.
100%
or anything
agree.
else. But like
Great.
until this came out, I was completely clueless about it. But yeah, it's well worth your time if you
When
ever
did
see
that
it.
come out, Tom?
So this came out like 2010. Like it was one of the first Sing Sing releases, like around the time they did like that Protex LP.
Yeah.
Okay.
But and like recently, I guess like someone's got the rights to the back catalog because like a lot of the original singles been coming out again. But yeah, like there's a few here that I could live without, like Pretty Boy Floyd and the Gems and Lely and the Lawbreakers covering like me and Bob and McGee.
Yeah.
It's like whatever.
Why? Yeah.
But like when it's good, it's really good.
You know, so I remember seeing, like, we did a small little trip with Mark Mann. This was like another band I was in, and we did a trip with him. And I remember I asked him, I was like Jeff Burke. I was like, oh, what have you been listening to? And he's like, I really like this Clive Culbertson, and then I like heard Time to Kill, and then that was the same for me. It was like realizing, oh shit, Rip Off Records. There's like another amazing hole to like another thing to have a deep dive in with Northern Irish punk. Like it's like perfect. And that song is an absolute banger, and the B-side's really great too. Like perfect single.
Wow.
There was like a third label as well, like I want to say it's called Shock Rock, but that might be wrong. Like that has a few things as well, like the Strike, like the Irish Strike, and a few others. But like I've never found those singles, and I've been looking for so long, but maybe one day.
Oh, but, lit up.
Yeah, many bangers. Yeah, again,
Yeah.
that's my catchphrase for the evening.
Many bangers. This is new to me. I'm excited. I've never really gone much beyond.
Yeah, I'm in no way familiar with that label.
Yeah, this is cool. This is great. Yeah.
That retrospective is like, it's definitely worth. If you ever see it, just grab
That's
it.
the one I've got my eye on right now. It's that. Yeah. Beautiful. All right. Volume 4, round 4. Cheers.
Volume 4.
Cheers. Volume 4.
I'm on empty.
Before you guys, Tom and Greg came on in the room here. Me and Graeme were kind of chatting a little bit, and Graeme, we were sort of talking about like bands from Osaka, like these sort of like poppy, like moddy kind of bands, and it's a bit of a blind spot for me, really. My friend Jesse, he's kind of an expert on that stuff. But I know a little bit about it, and there's a lot of good sort of garage punk, power pop bands from Osaka. It's not completely my thing, but this is one I slept on, and I slept on it too long. I even know like one of the guys in this band. He has a bar like not far down the street from me, but I've never checked out this band. And I saw the record the other day used. I was like, man, I'm gonna pick this up. First of all, the artwork is amazing. This is the record.
Okay, frantic stuff.
The frantic stuffs.
The frantic stuffs.
The frantic
That is
stuffs.
Like,
there's a lot going on here.
That's a lot to unpack there.
There's a lot to unpack. I haven't quite unpacked all of it. It's like these are like are these like onions, red onions? I don't know. And this looks kind of like I don't know, like a root vegetable tree. And then there's like
looks like a face hugger from Romulus or something.
And then like this sort of like John Wayne Gacy artwork mixed with sort of Japanese anime. There's a lot going on. But anyway, that's just what I was going to say about like a lot of the sort of the like Osaka and like Japanese like garage punk. Most of it is very trebly, screechy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like most of it is in fact like thin, tinny, like screechy, which is fine. I was kind of expecting that when I got this record. I was like, okay, we're going to get some real like screechy, like trebly, like power pop, 77 punk. In fact, I got like the exact opposite of that. It's like that, but like mixed in with like hard rock, Stooges, like new wave British heavy metal, super bass heavy. Like, they're just a trio. It's like this big like hard rock sound, great songs, lots of tasty guitar work, lots of solos. I was like, it kind of took me back. I haven't really heard anything quite like this before from this kind of the garage punk scene. So
it's funny, the name and the way the cover is like colored really looks like gives the content of the cover notwithstanding. It's got like a bit of a pointed sticks kind of textural aspect
there's
to it.
various bases that bands touch here, right? With the power pop, and then like the sun. This doesn't sound really like any of that. I don't really know what their influences were. Maybe a bit of Thin Lizzy, maybe, I don't know. But very kind of beefy. But before people were kind of thinking, well, when's this from? This is from 2015. So the sort of punks discover Thin Lizzy thing had already kind of like
everyone's already like, yeah, okay, cool.
started happening. But I was super surprised. I guess my expectations were a little bit low, but I was like, damn, this is like a heavy rock record. Great guitar work. Yeah.
Wow.
Good. If you see this, buy it. It's really good.
Yeah.
Another sort of like tidbit is like like I said, it's kind of the guy that produced this was in Corrupted.
Okay.
No, I don't know if that has anything to. I don't think it really has anything to do with how the record sounds. In that he didn't make it heavy. They're a heavy band, but yeah, it's this guy Ippei Suda. You've seen this studio if you've been to Osaka and you've been down to the record shops, like in certain areas. There's a studio called LM Studio. It's like right on the street there, and a lot of these records are recorded at this studio called LM Studio, and he's the main guy that does all the punk stuff there. I mean, he's done everything from like Frampted to Shonen Knife to Otoboki Beaver to Gloom to Ferocious X to Frantic Stuffs. He's done tons of stuff, and he knows what he's doing. So it's a great sound.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Bit of maybe. Yeah. Frantic Stuffs.
Hell yeah.
Heavy garage punk. Let's call it that.
I mean, honestly, I gotta say, like, I see that kind of artwork, I'm like, oh, it's probably gonna have a heavy Primus vibe, or I honestly think like a guy's gonna show up playing bass with like stuffed animals all over his pants and stuff.
It's the clown, isn't it, Graeme?
Yeah, it's just it's upsetting. It's hugely upsetting to me.
I know you don't like clowns, but
yeah, they freak as shit. So funny. Okay, so we were talking earlier about, and we're talking the first, like, I'm not going to show the comp, but it was like we were talking about a lot of the Japanese like boy stuff, and we were talking about like I didn't realize that there was that Rough Trade band was from Osaka.
That was a great song. I think you sent,
dude. It's on Super Yobs 1, and it was and they had Super Yobs 2 was actually the one they had, but the one I'm going to show is Super Yobs 1. Because I finally scored a copy of this, and this was a record that I wanted so bad when I was a young guy, and it was so this is like a split release with Red Alert and Templars, and so Red Alert pretty much went over to do a tour of the U.S. and they ended up doing a few shows in New York and New Jersey and stuff with Templars, and so what I gather is that Phil and Carl, they had like their little studio thing, which was just like a 4-track or whatever. And they recorded like Red Alert, like did like an impromptu day of recording. And you can tell they're getting more and more drunk as the record goes on. Cause it's like, but the thing that's really cool is it sounds like Templars record, like the Templars production from that time. But the songs were by Red Alert. So that stuff is cool. But I have to admit, the Templars side just like blows me away. Like it's got all my favorite Templars tunes on it, like Police Informer, Dead End Politics, Computerized Workforce, like Ain't Got a Clue, News of the Night. It's just like, and actually Skinhead's all right. I don't know why I skipped it, but anyway, this is, I think, the best Templar stuff by a mile for me, because I think the songs are.
What year is that from?
This is probably from 93 or 94. And the funny thing is that it's on this label that introduced us to a lot of this Japanese stuff, which was Vulture Rock, which was from Albuquerque, New Mexico, which was dodgier and shit. Like, and it would be funny. You would get like these mail orders, and I actually in this copy has one of the mail orders that you can get. And then like I was just like reading it to just remember, and it's like, you know, what does it say on here? There was one that really fucking had me laughing. It was like it'll have like Nabat on it or Iron Cross or whatever, but then there'll be like Hammer, like German Oi, not for college students. Like this one, this 7-inch, Voice of Hate, Nordland, brutal German Oi, probably not for college students.
Probably not for college students.
But it's only $4, so that's
Ben, it might be for college students.
That's my kind. That's college student prices.
Exactly.
But it was funny because so Super Yobs Volume 2 is the comp that we had, and there was actually a Toronto guy, Ter Ostapchuk. He had a record that came out on Vulture Rock because he was in a band called Systematics, and that's like one of the only. It's like an actual like hardcore kind of like UK influenced hardcore kind of sounding stuff, and it's killer. But like Vulture Rock didn't know, like they were like, what is this? There's a punk in this and a skinhead. What? That's like literally what the press release was for. So they're like, yeah, send this straight to the fucking furnace. Like, and I remember buying and it's sick. And they were so good live. They had a female fronted, they kind of reminded me of, do you remember there was an English band called Potential Threat?
Yeah.
It was kind of like that, where it was like kind of like those kind of vocals, but like it wasn't as fast as Potential Threat, but it was that kind of speed. Like it was kind of, they were really great. But anyway, Terror would bring in all these records, and he kind of got Edmonton tuned in to what was going on in like 94, 95. And he brought the Super Yobs record, and we were like, we didn't even know who Slade was kind of at the time.
I was going to say, that's Noddy Holder, right?
Yeah, it's Noddy Holder on the cover. And then the back's just all these like photos of like, I remember you just staring at Carl Templar's like posters on his wall. There's like Misfits and like all this kind of stuff. And I just remember thinking like I missed out on the only few copies he had of it. So me and my older brother Luke, we ended up getting him to make us a tape. So Tara made us this tape, and we were just like, I was like, man, this band Templars is just so good. Like, what is the deal of this band? And there was a song by Red Alert that's on the B-side called Riding the Storm, which is only on this record. And it's like, it's almost like a kind of a poppier song, kind of like almost like in the vein of like The Crack or something like that, but played by Red Alert. And
love The Crack.
Oh, so do I. And Riding the Storm is a great song, and I haven't found it anywhere else like on YouTube or anything. But if anyone ever finds it, it's just like it's a really cool kind of like poppy oi tune, but it's like with the production of like the Acre Studios or whatever. So
Red
this
Alert don't get talked about enough. I want to say it's like
I know, and actually,
great melodic punk band. Really,
the singles are perfect singles. It's just like they never, for some
actually,
reason.
I love their LPs too. Like We Got the Power, I think is a killer record.
Yeah,
and like they were always like, actually funny enough, when me and my brother we went and saw Red Alert. Luke was flying home somewhere, and like that, I think his name was Steve Smith. And he was like, apparently he's got like a really large testicle that he was showing everybody at the airport, And apparently he had like, I don't know if he had like a herniated disc or something like that, but it was just like,
open it to that conversation.
Normally does.
Wasn't expecting that.
But, so apparently he has like one giant bollock, so that's pretty sick too.
There you go.
So shout out to Red Alert.
I was going to say that like they were from Sunderland, which is where Leatherface come from, and didn't like the drummer of Leatherface ended up drumming for them, right?
And also didn't they have wasn't there like a band with there was a band before Red Alert called the Rebels who were really great as well, and that was like and I think it had members of Red Alert. I think Red London might have been from there too.
Red London. Okay, yeah.
I don't know what's going on. How red it's getting up in Sunderland. I know Toy Dolls are from there too.
Right.
But it was like, but it was funny because it's like, and there was also another band like HDQ, something like that.
Yeah.
And didn't that have members of Red Alert and Leatherface? I'm not.
Same guy drummed for HDQ and.
Right, and so I don't know. Like I always loved kind of Red Alert's like approach. Like they had really, really solid choruses. Really, like their songs were really cool. But on this particular record, it's like hearing. It's like almost a science experiment. Like, what would it sound like if it was like, you know, they were used? It's kind of like, what would a band sound like if they recorded where Blitz and Violators did, like, or Attack, where they had used all the same gear, and it was just like, you know, it's just one of those things. But anyway, good. I'm. This is a recent purchase, so this just kind of snuck into this top 5 as of a few days ago, but it was like a huge one from when I was younger.
And the rejects too, right? Yeah.
So
nice.
Yeah,
cool.
Anyway,
beautiful. All right.
I admittedly brought in more than 5 records and was like, I'll narrow it down. We'll do it live.
While we're on.
So after listening to last week's and the conversation about donuts,
fuck yeah, I love that fucking record.
I was like, oh yeah, man, those Mass Hysteria records are like that good. So I went back to this one, and it's like, I mean, and again, it's like perfect punk, like totally dialed in. The guitars are doing interesting stuff. Like the songs are like melodic and aggressive, and it's, you know, indebted to stuff. And it's ironically now the second release on Feral Ward I selected. And I thought, talking about Inepsy, that like the packaging that Yannick used to do always like
rounded.
And also he was like the first guy to make, like, I loved that the center labels were always the same. Like, you always knew it's kind of like No Future or like Riot City.
Yeah.
Funny enough, funny
not
enough,
on this one though. Not on this one though.
Right. Funny enough, Vulture Rock don't do it. I remember one of the center labels for my Super Yobs Volume 2 says it's like for another band called Battle Scarred.
Hey, my Inepsy record has the center labels from that Japanese band I.
Whoa, that's cool.
Who Yannick also did their like singles LP. Yeah.
It's like, get it together,
guys. Just like absolutely perfect record. Both the LPs are killer. It's just, and this one, I think I might prefer this one to the first LP, Vardalovstan. But yeah, I don't know, it's great. I remember, like, I don't know if anybody followed what Robert did after.
Yeah, that Harula.
Yeah, Harula, but he's like an enormous star.
Pop star now. Yeah.
So there's no hope of ever seeing this band. But the reason, like, when I heard Donuts and talking about this band again, it's like one thing that always sticks with me with this band particularly is that this was like, I remember one of the first like international bands that I was like so excited to see, like I really wanted to see, and they wouldn't come to Toronto, like they wouldn't cross the border, and it was like, to some degree, like, you know, life's mission shit, where it's like, I need to figure out how to get these international bands to Toronto because like I don't want to miss this stuff anymore. And it's like, so I always think about this band when I think about that. Like, it's just like, I don't know, perfect.
You know what's an interesting thing about that record is I think that record came out when they essentially were done as a band.
They had like,
so like they never played any of those songs live, which is insane because it's by far the best thing that I think Robert ever made. Like, that's his masterpiece, in my opinion. Like, every song is just a banger. Every song has so much like depth to it. Like, I love Vicious. Like, Regulations were awesome, you know. But like on that one, he just like, even like prior to that, the Mass Hysteria stuff was to me was just okay. Like the first Feral Ward one, just okay. The singles, just okay. And then that comes out and you're like, this is like, everything is perfect on this record.
Yeah,
it's exactly what I want to hear.
I always felt that like that one feels way more like a rock record, but in the best possible way.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you.
There's a lot of like melodic interplay where like the guitars are doing something that then follow like the vocal line, and like everything is kind of connected to itself.
But the bass playing is so good on it too. Like, it's all the really melodic bass lines that are just like following the vocals, and it's like sounds like Paul McCartney or something like that. Like, just like, you know how he would lay his bass down afterwards, and fucking he did a pretty goddamn good job. I tell you what, boys.
Well, yeah, but it's like a perfect record, top to bottom. But yeah, I never got to see him. Very
Yeah.
bummed.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've seen all of his other ones, but not.
I
not
saw
that
them.
one.
They came to the UK like just. I think it literally might have been as the first single came out, and they came with a Hayata stuff. And
that band's awesome too.
And honestly, like, I wish I could have seen like a year later because
Right.
Yeah.
it just would have been so much fully formed and probably like
Right.
incredible. And like
Well,
it was just I was still finding their feet that time, like, which is not a bad thing, but what they became was so much better than how
Yeah.
it started. So.
What was even funny hearing about when they did those tours with like autistic youth from Portland and stuff like that, and they were like opening up for autistic youth. You're like, like no shade on them at all, but I mean, like the Mass Hysteria records are just like, for me, are like those moments in time where you'll, in your contemporary scenes, where there's a record that comes out and it's just one that's always going to stick.
And
Like,
there were bands
like Exploding Hearts, or like
Yeah.
like Inepsy or whatever,
there
Food
was
Party.
I think a lot of bands were kind of like dabbling in this sort of like, I feel like it's a crude comparison to compare them to the Wipers. They obviously like pulled a lot from it, but like there were other bands that were trying to do that kind of like angular driving post-punk punk rock, and they were just like 100 times better. I do actually like the first Harula record that followed that.
I think it's an awesome record.
I've got a few. I kind of can find something to enjoy in all the ones I've got.
Yeah, like I think I fell off maybe by the third one, but
the thing with Harula for me with Robert's music is like, I think he really leaned in heavily onto ballads, like kind of doing these kind of jangly, which the sounds are always so good and his voice is so good, but after a while, when it's always that same tempo and the same kind of like build ups to like big parts and then dips and then big, and it's like after a while it just gets kind of exhausting, Yeah. And it's maybe too smart for me sometimes when I just want to hear Egyptian Lover, like, or hear Me So Horny.
Honestly, not enough sex rhymes on the Harula record.
I'm like, what's going on, Robert? What's going on with all these sex rhymes? He's like, I wasn't feeling it this year. I'm like, man, we needed some sex.
Nice. Burn out all the classics tonight, there, Greg.
Yeah.
Fell down a rabbit hole, I guess.
All right, Tom, what's your fourth pick?
Cool. So like I recently moved here from like the UK like a few months ago, and last week after all my records being on the ferry for a few months, like they finally arrived.
That must have been a nerve-wracking couple of months.
Yeah. But thankfully everything made it safe and sound, so
nice.
All good.
Nice.
But I think when I was unpacking everything, like I started going through some boxes and seeing some stuff up, but I'm not pulled out in a few years. So that was really cool. But I found this 7-inch, and it's so about 5-6 years ago in the UK, there was, especially in London where I was from, there was like a lot of bands like sort of Good Throb, Frau, and like a whole wave of things. But then a few years later, after all those bands broke up, this band started, and it was like it was all people who were like immigrants in the UK from like Argentina, Spain, Mexico, and but they did this 1 7-inch, and it's fucking amazing. But it's Fora. Like the record came out after they broke up, which I think made it kind of come and go a bit more. But it's just like kind of like raw, desperate hardcore. Like the singer got deported pretty much just as his record came out, or maybe just like before. And yeah, it's kind of hard for me to describe sonically, but like I'd kind of, if I was like group it with other records, it makes me think of like the Otan singles, like maybe the Terza Mondo LP. Mm-hmm. It's got that feeling of desperation, and like it just feels fucking real,
I always loved, and I love the layout too. Like I think that record always looked so cool too. And it was just like I remember seeing that on like every Levita like mail order thing. I was always like, oh man, this is definitely got to be the one that. Oh, there you go. Like, I definitely was like, I gotta get. I like this is definitely one that I gotta jump on. And for some reason, it always seemed to be like either I'd forget about it instantly or I'd be going down the rabbit hole of something else. But it was just like definitely one of those ones that I like an idiot feel like I missed out on.
There's a lot of those, isn't there? Like in the back catalogue of La Vida es un City, sort of like there's like a lot that you kind of missed. Or
I feel like that record also kind of exemplifies what was probably like happening in London at the time. Like
Yeah,
how you describe it, kind of like it's kind of this mix of people that just kind of like kept reconfiguring itself and making new bands. And someone new would move there, and the band would break up, and then two of those people would start a new band with two new people, and
Exactly.
Kind of like, but it just like a real kind of like living and breathing DIY scene of like people who just kind of wanted to like be angry together. I don't know. It was like as you were talking, I was like, oh, I wonder what record he's going to mention.
yeah, me too. I was trying to guess it.
I mean,
Yes.
it was actually really. I would almost say like from 2015 to like, to now, there was so many awesome London bands. Like there was like maybe a lot of people just moved there all at once and just like just remember every year there'd be like something cool or unique.
Yeah,
that's always just like I don't know.
It was about the time as well. Like there was like a few new spaces opening up, and like things were like a lot more vital because of that. And yeah, this was just like one of the bands that came out at the right time. Like the other thing. Sorry, go on.
I was just gonna say just before that, like I remember it would be like Good Throb, bands like Wolf, really bands that were like again very like angular. Like Good Throb was like straight ahead kind of stuff, but it was like I just kind of remember like that Wolf album and all this stuff, and it was all like kind of like weird. Like for me at the time, like I was just like not getting it totally until later, and then I'm like, oh yeah,
it was almost like as primitive and like I don't know what the word is. A lot of it almost felt intellectual sometimes as well. Like it was like
totally.
It had a heaviness to it. Like I don't know. Like
and like and we're like we're at like listening to like Formaldehyde Junkies Nuke the Frats, where you're like, this I can get behind. This is where my brain is at right now.
There was even a thing like at the time, like in London, where it was like oh yeah, there's like the hardcore bands and like what quote unquote the cerebral bands, which in hindsight seems so ridiculous because everyone was just playing hardcore. Totally. But you know what people can be like.
Yeah,
for sure.
The other cool thing I really like about this record as well is it comes with a postcard, and like I'll try and display it on the screen right now, but it's that's the fun of it, and like of the band playing with the backdrop, and on the back it's pre-address stamped, so you can send it to the Home Office with your opinions on immigration.
That is actually really sick.
But
be like, hey, can you deport this guy named Paco? He's doing a disservice.
Crimes against the maxi single.
Crimes against the term maxi single. I'm like, signed the good people from the maxi single.
But out of all those records, like all the Good Frog records, like the Frau records, everything at that time, like I love them all, and it really represents a certain period for me. But I think this one here is like the one.
What would you say was the turning point for records from the kind of like I could be wrong, but what Good Throb was kind of like 2011 maybe or 2013.
Yeah, I think they went to like from then to, and like the LP came out maybe 2014 or something like that.
Around then,
and then when did it kind of shift into like, because now you're like you have like obviously there was like there was like all those bands that kind of all came out all at once, and then obviously just before the big shift towards like a lot of the Oi kind of stuff.
Yeah,
but there was like
you had that, and like I think like the Violent Reaction, like Arms Race records started coming out about 2015 maybe.
Yeah,
around before that, but like,
and the Flex would have been like 2014, but they weren't from London. That's why I was
no, but it all kind of started like converging around that point.
right.
But yeah, it was always kind of interesting because there was always that little bit of a divide. But now I don't think anyone will give a fuck about. But yeah,
Although I'm sure all of us will say free Ola.
goes without saying.
Yeah.
The one single from that era that like is this that for me like I still will put on, or if I DJ I'll play it, is that second Primetime single. Like it's not as aggro as like like I wouldn't say it's not angry, but it's like a bit more of a UK DIY kind of thing than like a hardcore punk thing. But that one, and there's that new single that's really good by that band Grazia I listened to again this week. With that song Freak on it, that one rips as well, and it feels like it's kind of indebted to that whole era of London shit.
Yeah, it makes total sense. Is that second Primetime single the one with like Pervert on it and a few others?
Yeah, with the sync drawing on the front.
Yeah.
Cool.
All
right.
Last round. Last round.
Cheers. Your round. My round.
Cheers.
Hey, like Greg, remember like last time you were here, we went to a few record stores, and like before that, like definitely Timmy, where he was always on the hunt for like Japanese hardcore records. That was over.
Yeah. Greg, no way.
but they weren't though. That's the thing. They were like these Japanese electronic records and
weird
stuff.
Yeah,
I had like not heard of any of this stuff, and I was like, I've been living in Japan for like 20 years. I'd not heard of any of this stuff. So maybe like this is one of my favorite Japanese singers of all time. I'm going to show her record, but like I wonder if like people who are on the hunt for the more underground stuff skip over this because she was a big name, and the records can still be found for kind of cheap. And she's amazing. She has tons of records like from the mid 70s, even like up until a few years ago. But it's really the 70s stuff that I love the most. She's amazing. She was kind of groundbreaking, like pioneering, kind of avant-garde singer. Incredible voice. I love this artist so much. It's Akiko Yano. Her first record.
Couple of her things have been reissued recently.
They got reissued on a French label, but honestly, like you can still find these. Well, if you're in Japan, you can still find them for cheapish, and they're kind of worth picking up if you can get the original.
That looks so sick. I don't know it at all.
It's like, okay, I was thinking about this. I posted this the other day, and like, when it's like band A kind of sounds like band B, C, D, and E, and you sort of think, wow, do they really? And is it, but you got to make comparisons sometimes, right? To sort of get people in the, to kind of understand.
Or to like explain what you're hearing.
Explain, and people kind of get a bit irritated sometimes. And it doesn't go the other way. I don't think that people would say that Kate Bush was the British Akiko Yano. It's always like Akiko Yano is the Japanese Kate Bush. This record came out 2 years before Kate Bush's first record. It's kind of avant-garde pop. She does have a voice which is a little bit similar to Kate Bush, like a little bit operatic. It's wild. It's like Side A is American Side. So I don't know how this happened, but she got Little Feet to be her backing band.
Oh, crazy.
Okay.
So it's like this kind of swampy LA funk music with her singing in this kind of, it's called minyo, which is traditional Japanese music. You'll recognize it. It's very recognizable like Japanese melodies that are in like folk songs and stuff. So she's doing that on top of like Little Feet getting like super funky and stuff. It's pretty wild. And the side B is like the Japanese side, and she has like a ton of like Japanese musicians that like Haruomi Hosono is like one of the biggest names in the history of like Japanese pop music. Mm-hmm. I think he's on this record. She married Ryuichi Sakamoto from Yellow Magic Orchestra later on, and then she kind of had access to all like the cutting edge like electronic equipment because YMO were early on the ground right with that stuff.
Fuck yeah.
So moving forward, she has all this stuff on her record, like ahead of the game. So it's pretty
I was just gonna ask. Go ahead.
I was gonna say you're really hitting on like the problem with collecting records. Like as an example, it's like so this one record is connected to all this other stuff, and all of it's incredible for all these different reasons. You should go get all of them now.
So this one is 76, right? So the electronic stuff hasn't really been introduced yet, but it's still like very avant-garde. As you move forward into like the later, like the 77, 78. And there's one record where Ryuichi Sakamoto wrote a lot of the music, and it's like it just sounds like YMO with like
cool.
With
like a
Akiko Yano, amazing singer. She's like a jazz pianist too, but she was a big name in Japan, kind of, but it's like really avant-garde and
it's just like very I've never heard of
I
it.
would like whenever you sort of discover like something new, I always say like, start at the beginning. Start at the beginning. And do you mind if I show a few more records?
Sure, why not?
So it's like,
actually,
the second LP. Like, okay, you'll love this. Check this out. Like, you'd buy this, right? If you.
Oh hell yeah! That is like the man. Anytime someone uses a dolphin as a bazooka,
we were talking about sharks, but the dolphins are a whole different ball game. Very like distinctive, like Japanese looking artwork.
Oh hell yeah!
Is there one of hers which is like her like decorating a house or something?
Oh, hang on a minute. We might get to that. This is the one where she just got her picture on the cover. This one is the one.
That's the one I'm.
This is the one that is very YMO.
Wow.
Yeah. It's called Tadaima.
So would you, if I was to like, sorry, I love YMO. Would I start with that one, or would I start with the one you were showing?
This one. Yeah.
Because I love, obviously YMO are like masters of just like the synth, the layering of synths and stuff, and obviously the playing on it is like insane. So it's and like watching the guy play drums and sing and synth. It's just like is insane to me.
But she would also definitely. She was a member of the band for a while. I think when they played in this, they did US tours and stuff. She would sing with them, like live on stage and stuff, like back in the 70s and 80s and stuff. So she's amazing, and she's like still making records. But she did go more and more sort of conservative singer-songwriter-ish as the sort of years went by. And I haven't really gone past anything past about 86. But all those 70s records are
killer.
Oh yeah,
that's sick. Yeah. Well, okay, so. For my my last pick, this one is like it was. So we got invited to play Static Shock, and that's where I really hit it off with a lot of my London friends. Keep going, but there was a record store that was right by Tom's place. It was we had to walk over to it. I want to say it was called like Little Shop or Little Big Shop, Little Record Shop.
Yeah.
Anyway, I went in there and I found a cachet of. I got a big score. I came home absolutely broke, but I was like, some of the ones that I was really happy that I got was Joe Cool and the Killers. I finally got that single. Got the Meanie single, whatever. But one of the ones that I think kind of stood the test of time for me from that haul was I finally found a copy of the Chills Rolling Moon single.
Oh, nice.
And this is me and Kate. Kate's my partner, and we just like when we first moved into our place, this was Rolling Moon has always been like kind of the song for both of us, and it's just like one of those tunes. It's just like a perfect power pop song. The jangle guitars, it's like the lyrics are so cool. Like everything about the song Rolling Moon just like hits me, and I always think about every time I listen to this song, it's just I always can just like tune out for a second and just like I just think about places and people, and every time I think of this, I always think about like walking by from Tom's place to go record shopping at this place, and there was all these killer singles. The B-side is also awesome because it's got We Bite, not We Bite. I wish they were covered in Misfits, but Bite and Flamethrower, I think, are both very underrated. Oh hell yeah! Both of these are very underrated chill songs because I like when they also kind of get really punky and kind of just like I always love their vibe, and I think when I'm always looking for stuff to like help make tunes, chills are always like a go-to in terms of just like listening to them from like going through like even just like the Kaleidoscope world. You throw that on and you listen to those singles, and you're just like, oh man, they'll go from like very ethereal pop songs to like stuff like Flamethrower or like Leather Jacket, and like you're just like, this fucking rules. And like Flying Nun is got a big place in my heart. It's like one of those record labels like we're talking about, like you know, like Good Vibrations or Rip Off or like No Future. Like it's just one of those, like, or Riot City. It's just like a regional record label that really encapsulate and like just keeps the whole sound. Like I'm not even trying. Can't even speak. But anyway, fucking love this song. And my dear woman, Kate, she loves this song. And like I said, when we got our place together, I think this was the first record that we put on the old turntable. So thank you, Little Record Shop.
Beautiful. Nice. New Zealand pop is amazing, right? Oh,
it's incredible. Like going on a deep dive from that, like actually on this last trip when I was with Tom as well, we were in I think we were in Antwerp. I can't remember, in Belgium. We went to that crazy, went to this crazy record store that was recommended by some friends of ours to go to, and they had just got a big, like a whole bunch of stuff in a big shipment. They even had they have classics like Driver, Screwdriver, and a couple boxes, But I did find there was like a Chills, the first Chills like 12-inch that was like a 4-way split. It had like the Verlaines on it, and it was just like going through all the different sides. You're like, man, there's so many good bands from that era, and I'm always discovering more bands from that era that were just kind of like in the cracks, and you'll hear like I just recently was in Minneapolis for the Extreme Noise 30th anniversary, and they had a bunch of New Zealand stuff, and there's like a Flying Nun record called Blam Blam Blam, and there's this song called There's No Depression in New Zealand, and it's one of the, I love that. It's so funny. It's such a killer tune, and so I always got a soft spot for the Flying Nun.
Did any of you guys see the Chills documentary that came out about 2 years ago?
I haven't seen it yet, but someone told me that it exists, and I've never been able to track it down or see it.
I caught it at the cinema, like, I guess, probably about a year ago now. And also, like, Martin for the Chills was there, like, rest in peace. But, like, crazy thing about that band for me was, like, they had so many, like, UK, like, lineups, incarnations. But in the 90s, like, it was at a point where like they were kind of getting anyone they could to like be in the band, like they were getting all these death metal. There was like this death metal guitar guy they got in, and like and it's like them like doing like Pink Frost or like all the classic stuff, and you see some guy in like a death long sleeve on the side of the stage, just like drumming away.
We had a similar thing. The Clean, it wasn't a Clean, it was Hamish, like the drummer from the Clean. He did a tour. I think he had, and actually he just passed away too. But he, I think he'd been going through a divorce or something like that. And so him and his buddy did this trip across, like, from coast to coast, from New York to somewhere that they were moving to on the West Coast at the time. And they did a road trip together. So they were playing pickup shows wherever. And they did some shows in Edmonton. It was just like, and so Hamish stayed at like this punk house that we had at the time. He stayed over, and we were like, "Hey, bro!" Like total fucking knobheads to him, but he was like cool, like super cool. He was just talking all about Flying Nun stuff, and he was just it was just cool. And like one of the bands that opened up for them was an Edmonton power pop band called Let's Dance, and they did like. I think they did Pink Frost or they covered a Chills song, and I remember Hamish was like, "Oh, every time I think of that song, he's like, I get a tear in my eye." So, but he still had like a mop head, so it was cool.
Cool. All right.
So, picking up on the theme of labels connecting scenes and stuff, and I know I mentioned I'd been listening to like quieter stuff at home lately, more like jazz and whatnot. This is a new one. It's Jeff Parker and the ETA Quartet. So it's Jeff Parker from Tortoise. He's kind of like he's in a new era of kind of doing. I think he has like 3 or 4 jazz guitar releases under his own name. And this one is on a label out of Chicago called International Anthem, which like if you're up on the whole like contemporary jazz world, it's a label that kind of started around what was like a weekly or a monthly show in Chicago. So it was like contemporary artists just kind of getting together and playing, and then some of those performances got recorded and put it out, and now it's kind of like one of the epicenters of like contemporary jazz. And this record has been like a nice favorite lately. Just a 4-sider, some long tracks, some 4 artists. It's Jeff Parker, Josh Johnson, Anna Butters, and Jay Bellerose. So some Chicago musicians. Yeah. This one was actually recorded in LA though. So, but yeah, very, very, very cool. Very, very cool stuff. I would recommend any of his records, honestly, but this one is the one that's been on the table lately.
Is it like in the pocket? It's not too free or anything, right?
It's not too free. It's very in the pocket. It goes some places, but it's like, nice stuff to listen to at home these days.
Mm-hmm. I always find like stuff like that is like, it's funny. Like I always find that there's records that I have different records for every different facet of my life. Like in the car, like when I'm fucking hanging with friends, like when people come over and we're just partying or whatever, like that's one type of record. But then there's records that I call like I love headphone records, where it's like when I'm going to bed, it's just like I love to lie there and like listen to like Eno ambient music, or like listen to weird like kind of ethereal kind of jazz stuff that sounds like whales jerking off or whatever, but it's just like I love it. Like I'll just be like, like it's just kind of like this like I think that some of that stuff almost hits even more because it becomes even more personal, because that none of your friends are gonna be into it or give a shit about it. So you're just like, this is for me. This is headphones on,
like there's stuff that I'll blast in my headphones. Ironically, like I find that I listen to more of the like louder punk stuff now in my headphones, because it's just
really?
Just because like I don't find myself doing stuff. I'm not, I haven't had like post-COVID, I'm not having a ton of people staying at my house these days. Stuff like that. Back then it was like,
totally.
Put on a record and play it loud. And now it's like, I'm walking the dog, I'll listen to that new vibes.
Totally.
Yeah. But whereas like, something like this, or there's like all sorts of weird, like interesting. I think there's been a real evolution lately of like what was like kind of post-industrial esoteric ambient world of stuff that's like I've been listening to a lot of that stuff at home just because it's like nice to put on, or I don't know, it's just interesting.
It can't be confused 24/7.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
It can't be.
There can't be special duties all the time.
Gotta have a break now and again.
You need a break. Like,
I mean, who needs special duties when you got the Exploited, right?
That's true.
Is that the last pick of the day?
Please say it. If you do, I'll be like, I'm fucking so pissed because I had my Jesus is Dead fucking shirt, and I was like, shit, I should have wore that.
You know what? I will say, like, I was joking about Death Before Dishonor. It was one I did not take seriously until Daniel Lupton gave it a write-up once. And I was like,
persuaded you with his fancy words?
Yeah.
He's like the way that Wadi Kareem's across the word cunt.
You just needed the exploits to become cerebral. That was the issue.
Exactly. I needed someone to convince me that there was some depth to it. No, that record, like, it's like Exploited does crossover. It fucking rips.
Dude, that tune, Police Informer, and it's got the Terminator 1 soundtrack, or the sample bite, where it's like, Police Informer, what is it next? And it's like, fuck you, asshole. I'm like, when I was a kid, me and my brother were like, yeah!
You guys are on board with horror epics, though. You're on board with that, right?
Dude, I love horror epics. I love the artwork. I love that photo. And I just love those roto toms where it's like ding 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 ding. I was like, oh man.
I mean, I don't know if you ever read the lyrics to like "Fuck a Mod," but like,
dude,
it's deep.
Killer. Every Christmas party, I'm like, here you go, boys, and just leave the room.
All right, Tom, is your last pick exploited? Is it something else? Let's find out.
It's sadly not.
You hyped it up. I was like, almost shaved off my eyebrows.
I guess we know who the composer is.
Your hair was just going to immediately charge.
Oh, it would have in a fucking. It's like fucking rights, man.
Okay, so I had two here, like a new one and an old one, but I feel we should do at least one more new one.
Go on.
So my last pick is the Itchy Minutes LP that came out on Total Punk last year. It's like a total like garage rock, budgie rock thing, but like every song is like so catchy. Like,
really?
I wrote it off initially because there was that band in London. There was a band called Sniffing the Nits.
Sniffing in the Nits.
Right. I was gonna say, which one played? Didn't you wasn't there one of these bands that played one of the Static Shock?
Yes, that would be Sniffing the Nits because they were like the local band in London.
Okay.
Right.
And I saw this band appear. I was like, what the fuck? But this is like. So I should put it. It's just like every song is just like it's really primitive, but like in the best possible way.
I love that.
And it's just so charming, and I feel like it's this kind of band. There should be like one in every single city, like just kind of like doing like you could even imagine it like playing with like Bleach Childish or something like that, and like just but it just doesn't seem like that's the case anymore. But like, I don't know, it's just the whole thing is like super endearing, and they have the songs to back it up. And I really hope at one point I'll get to see him play.
Yeah,
but
I gotta hear that record. I love Total Punk. Total like that label is just like TV Repairman and
So I think
what was that band? Sick Thoughts. They're fucking awesome.
So good. So I think the guy from TV Repairman recorded and mixed this, and it was maybe and it looks like it was mastered by one of the guys from Civic as well. But like,
so they're an Australian band.
Yeah, they're from Sydney, I want to say. But at the same time, like that shouldn't be like the one thing that's like, these people did this. These people had a hand in it because this. It's the songs are there, and like the first couple is like this person's got fleas, this person's got crabs. And I was like, is it like a gimmick record? But then there's like the third song is like it's them talking about like trying to shoplift and avoiding getting caught, and like the next song is like we're at pie, we're getting punished by a guy, and like and yeah, I know. I just love it. It was one of my favorite records of last year.
Wow.
That's cool. I totally missed that one too.
There's still like a whole bunch of stuff that like we didn't get to last year. And it's like,
I feel I'm still catching up with so much as well.
Oh yeah.
I had this thing as well. I had this thing where I was like about halfway through the year, I was like, I'm gonna stop listening to things online. I just want to find them like naturally.
Right.
But that means I'm like so behind everyone else. Right now,
totally.
So.
Well, but
it also means it's so much more expensive too. Like even
that's cool.
Ordering everything, you know.
Yeah. So I think I'm gonna list this for free, or I'm gonna pay like £30 to check it out. It might be fine, but I'm gonna force myself to like it regardless. So it's like being a kid and buying the 5th MDC album all over again.
Oh god.
It's hard to keep up these days. Like.
For sure.
The label that I even would say that I used to keep up with religiously, like sometimes I'll hear a record like that Rotary Club record. I'm sure I've listened to it, and it's like it didn't click because like how can things click if you're just listening to them once online?
We've talked about this a little bit before. So we don't have as much time as we did when we were kids. You know, listening time is much shorter. We've got like other distractions. We've got life to lead.
And also, I feel like there's like say every month there's like 30 new punk records coming out that you should be paying attention to. It's like you're never gonna like give them like a full listen. It's like
I always kind of like the way I've always approached listening to records though. It's like for me, I always feel like during the week, like Monday to Friday, I'm like, okay, that's where I can experiment. That's where I'm like listening to like newer stuff or stuff that I've bought that I bought on a whim because something drew me to it because I went to a different part of the record store and I'm like, this looks crazy.
Yeah.
And I'll bring that home. And it's like, so Monday to Friday, when even if it's like just a few minutes, you're just like listening to something, but it's kind of like you're listening, but you have other stuff. But on the weekends, it's like straight classics. Like I'm always like it's like, I wake up, I have the day off, and it's just like, man, I'll put on like Undertones, or I'm listening to Stooges, like, or like Black Sabbath, or like whatever. But it's just like classics are coming on.
That's actually
like,
quite a good system. Actually, I like that.
Well, I just always feel like on the weekend, because it's like, well, we have like I rarely have a morning off, so I'm always like, when I'm there, it's just like, okay, let's dig into some just things that make me feel good all the time, like
it makes sense.
And then during the week, it's just like, okay, you can kind of grind out this angular buzzsaw like pumpkin patch tune, and you're like, that's kind of cool, like. There's this woman screaming into a bass drum mic. This is cool, but like, or like, but you know what? It's funny you were talking about those pop records, and it was like those Japanese ones. Like, I remember when they finally reissued those Yamasuki singers, like those like records, like finally like actually being able to hear them because I'd only ever heard about them and listening to them. That was like every weekend. It was like boom. That was like morning. That was on. Follow it up with like T-Rex or whatever, but it's just like stuff that's like ease myself into MDC's fifth record or DRI's get myself ready for get ready for fucking Stormtroopers of Death,
All right, that was a killer episode. So many great picks, so much to dive into. I'll just announce next week's episode before we sign off. Next Friday, January 24th, 10 p.m. Eastern. Anne Lepore, Jeff DeSantis, Jeffrey Pop. Same time as always. So make sure you tune in. It's going to be a great show. We're probably going to carry on chatting a little bit, right? After I press stop.
There's no way in hell.
No more words to come out. All right. It's been a great show.
Thanks for having us, man. And it's beautiful seeing you, Tom. Beautiful seeing you, Greg. Hope you get some sleep.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, you never know. He's got baby screaming in his bass drum mic.
Stay healthy.